Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. It's the first hour of four. No, we're here to all the way till 7 o'clock, cranking out the news, cranking out the information, just cranking it. It's what we're doing. We're cranking between now and the time that we hand it over to Mark Levin at 7 o'clock. So settle in, lean back, buckle up. Here we go. Let's talk a little bit about how you're faring in your household under a Biden economy. We are in the middle of an election season, and we keep hearing from the president of the United States, who understands that many people will vote their pocketbooks. But he's telling us that, Bidenomics is working, everything is fine, just be a little more patient. It's all going to show up. I got to tell you, I don't think it's worth their time to try to defend Bidenomics, because Bidenomics doesn't seem to be working for a lot of people. You will largely, I think this election you're going to be voting on two things. Number one, I think a great number of people have let it be known they don't like what's happening on the southern border, and that they are really going to vote on that issue in a big way. But the thing that always is underpinning any decision on who you vote for when you're deciding who's going to be the next president of the United States is the state of the economy. So I thought I'd take a moment here to look at two or three stories here that have to do with exactly how it's going for most people. And I found one great story in the Wall Street Journal. By the way, you can find the links to all these stories at yourfarb.com, URFARB.com, and you can then find the link to yourfarb.com at 997WTN.com. I'm contractually obligated to say. Okay, so we go on. Here we go. It's been 30 years, writes the Wall Street Journal, since food ate up this much of your income. That's right. Think about it. The last time food was this much of your budget was some 30 years ago. Eating continues to cost more, even as overall inflation has eased a bit from the blistering pace consumers endured through much of 2022 and 2023. But prices at restaurants and other outdoor eateries were up 5.1% last month compared with January of 2023. And grocery costs, the cost that you get for eating the foods that you eat at home, went up another 1.2% during the same period. Relief is not likely to arrive soon. Restaurant and food company executives say they're grappling with the rising cost of labor and some ingredients that are getting more expensive. Consumers say they will find ways to cope. If you look historically, after periods of inflation, there really is no period where you can point to where food prices go back down. Isn't it something that they always go up, but they never ever seem to go down, right? They tend to be, this is the word for it in the economic parlance of the Wall Street Journal. They call prices that go up but don't come down sticky. They're sticky. They stick to the top and they don't come down. In 1991, U.S. consumers spent 11.4% of their disposable income on food, according to data from the U.S. Agricultural Department. At the time, households were still dealing with steep food price increases following an inflationary period during the 70s. Now, more than 3 decades later, food spending has reattained that level. USDA data show in 2022, consumers spent 11.3% of their disposable income on food, according to the most recent USDA data available. Food inflation has raised the ire of President Biden, who took to Instagram during the Super Bowl to blast food makers that he said were providing less bang for the consumer's buck, talking about shrinkflation. And he's very upset, the president is, that they are shrinking the size of his ice cream containers. But here, I got to tell you, it's just stunning to me that here you have a man who is the leader of the free world, the president of the United States. He's responsible for so many things, including the conduct of our economy in many ways. And he doesn't get one of the basic things about the laws of supply and demand. It's pretty easy. I mean, inflation causes food to go up, all right? I mean, the cost. Let's say if you say you make a nice snack food, we'll call them Blivets. I don't know.
That sounds terrible.
I don't know. Would you buy a bag of Blivets?
I think I would not.
I don't know. I don't know what a Blivet is, but let's just call it Blivets. Get you a nice old bag of Blivets. It's a snack food. We're going to call it. And you're trying to run a company and make Blivets out there, and all of a sudden, you got to pay more for fuel. You got to pay more for insurance. You got to pay more for labor. You got to pay more for the ingredients that go into your delicious Blivets. And so, you end up having more costs. So when you put your Blivets in out to the consumer, there's a couple of ways that you can deal with this. Number one, you can raise prices because, it costs you more to make Blivets, so you're gonna increase the cost of Blivets to the consumer. Okay, that's one way you do it. The other way is that you can absorb the costs that have gone up, but nobody does that. And if you do that very often, you won't be making Blivets very long. Blivets will go out of business. You will be Blivetless. Or the third thing you can do, and this is what some people choose to do, is you can shrink the size of the servings and charge people the same amount. So the prices don't go up, but you get a little less product. And some, there are no good options here. Because all three of these things would, two of the three would lead to a smaller market share, possibly, and the one of them would run you out of business. But he doesn't seem to understand that it's his economic policies that have caused inflation, and the inflation is what's causing, in some cases, companies to use this little trick called shrinkflation. It's ultimately his fault. But he doesn't want you to think about that. He wants you to think about those corrupt corporations. They're ripping you off. I mean, that's what he said. We're tired of being played for suckers. Well, I'll tell you what. If you buy that, you're the sucker. I mean, come on. He doesn't get it. He just doesn't understand it. So, foodflation has caused the ire of the president. Many diners say they've been going out less frequently or skipping appetizers while buying cheaper store brands more frequently at supermarkets, seeking out promotions or deals offered via apps. Coupons, you got to get your coupons. Denny, Wendy, and other restaurant chains told investors this month that their guest counts fell last year compared with 2022 levels as consumers, and particularly those with lower incomes, feel the financial pinch. Big food makers, including Hershey and Kraft and Heinz, have reported their sales volumes declined as prices rose for their products, with several reporting to hit profits in the latest fiscal year and others an increase. Oreo maker Mondelez, I didn't know Oreos were made by a company called Mondelez. I thought they were made by, I don't know, Cookie Elves or something. But apparently they're having a hard time because cocoa prices are through the roof, surged to a 46% record. Heinz is having to charge more from its ketchup because tomatoes and sugar, yeah, that's really what ketchup is, tomatoes and sugar, pretty much has gone up. And then they have their increased labor costs, etc. So they can, restaurant chains and grocery stores can try to look for efficiencies, but generally what that means is less service to the customer. So there are really no good options, and it really seems that a great number of people are finding it very difficult to make ends meet. The volume may tighten up again, writes a story in the Fox Business News. But what we see is our customers are buying more often but less at each purchase. They're tightening up a little bit, said one company owner. Hang on, let me go some. So, typical U.S. household needed to pay, are you ready? Here's some real numbers for you. $213 more a month in January to purchase the same goods and services that it did 1 year ago. So your budget for goods and services that you need in your home have gone up $213 in 1 year. Americans are paying on average $605 more each month compared with the same time 2 years ago, and $1,000 more compared with 3 years ago as Joe Biden was raising his hand and taking the oath of office. That's right. Your costs have gone up $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year since Joe Biden became president. So how is that? How are those Bidenomics working out for you, right? Now listen, inflation has slowed somewhat, but not completely gone away, and it's accumulative. It goes over time. So when you look at these numbers, it would seem that Bidenomics is not really working for people. And I mean, honestly, think about it. If you have expenses that come to about $1,000 more a month, $12,000 more a year, but you didn't get a $12,000 raise, guess what? You're hurting. You're pinched. $12,000 is real money to a lot of people. It is really serious money. And, everywhere you look, you find some example of prices going up. Because we're in that wage inflation spiral. Inflation causes wages to go up, and then wages cause inflation to go up. And it's an evil, evil, evil spiral. It's the death spiral for an economy, and we're flat in the middle of it. American Airlines has raised bag fees. Oh, joy, oh, joy. You now will have to pay on American $35 to check a first bag and $40 if they purchase the option at the airport. Used to be you could do either one for $30. So a second bag will cost $45, up from $40, whether purchased in advance or at the airport. So, I mean, everywhere you turn, you find examples of how things are going up. And, you may be getting a little raise now and then, but you ain't getting a raise to keep up with the rate of inflation, I can promise you. Most of us are not able to do that. And so when you look at it, you go, man, I'm telling you, I'm hurting. Big picture. If you're feeling that way, and other Americans are feeling that way, and they're having to make tough choices at the grocery store, or even worse, they don't have enough money to pay for food, so they end up putting it on the credit card, then you understand that the Bidenomics is not working for you, which is just baffling to me why they keep trying to tell people that it is. People know what's going on with their own wallets. They know what's going on with their own pocketbooks, and it's not good. Just another one of the reasons why I think it all sort of points to people are going to want a change. And it's a pretty easy mathematical equation for a lot of people right now. If the choices are Trump or Biden, you simply ask yourself the age-old question that Ronald Reagan asked us at one point: are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? No, we're not, because back in the day of Trumponomics, or whatever they called it, we were not having to deal with runaway inflation. People were making good money. Employment was up. It was a much rosier economic times. And honestly, I think there are about 15 different reasons why it is that things started going in the toilet as soon as Biden became president. But a lot of it has to do with regulations and other things. So I guess as we look at this, I sort of feel like people are going to say, when it comes time, they will vote not only what their heart is and what their concerns are, but their pocketbook. It has always been thus, and it always will be thus. It is one of those things that drive people to make their decisions. And it's a pretty simple decision if you look at how you were during the Trump years compared to how you are now during the Biden years. 21 minutes now, past the hour of 3 o'clock.
What keeps you up at night politically?
Well, the thing that keeps me wide awake are the misinformation efforts that are underway throughout this campaign.
Oh, please, misinformation. The only misinformation is coming out of Jim Clyburn's mouth. What are you worried about? Illegal immigration, wide open border, fentanyl coming across that wide open border. We've got inflation rising yet again. We've got crime in the streets. We've got the failed pullout of Afghanistan, to name just a few. So yes, the only misinformation here is what is flying out of Jim Clyburn's mouth. Nice try.
A Secret Service vehicle stolen, more license plate readers on the way, and a recall may be coming for your laptop's charger. We'll tell you which laptops, which brands. Those stories, 3:30, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
That's Mac Maury with all your news stories on the hour, on the bottom of the hour, the top of the hour, and, of course, his runaway breakaway segment that everybody just did. They're screaming for more of it. They just say, we need more Mac Maury. At 5:25 each day, Mac Maury's wild world of sports. And do you know what we're going to be talking about today? Have you thought that through yet?
I'm narrowing it down. I've got a couple options here. So
the editing process is very important to make sure that you get the real important stuff and then throw away get the wheat and get rid of the chaff.
That's how you become a breakaway segment, Brian, at least as far as I know.
A runaway smash hit segment. That's right. All right. Well, anyway, we'll do that. And look over there. It's Chris Webber in the control room pushing all the blinky buttons and doing so very ably. Everything good with you, Chris?
Oh, fine and dandy, yeah.
All right, good. All right. The former president of the United States did a big hoo-ha thing with Laura Ingraham last night. And I got to tell you, I thought Laura Ingraham asked some great questions, and I thought it was a pretty good interview. If that's the Trump we got that we're going to get on the campaign trail, I thought it was just right. I thought he was thoughtful. He was coherent. He stayed on topic most of the time. But it's what I said last time. I always felt that Donald Trump would be much more successful. He just dialed it back about 10%. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Just, not be so outrageous all the time and say the things that get people off into tangents and just sort of stick to your basic talking points. I know a lot of you really love it when he goes off on a tangent, but I think generally for an election, it's better if he doesn't. And I thought his performance, his communication performance last night was pretty strong. But he's facing some tough stuff here, especially with this $354 million fine that came down after the trial that was brought by Letitia James. All has to do with the allegation that he overpriced the value of his assets when applying for a loan. He was asked last night, what are you going to do? And he said, well, we've got cash. But he didn't really sort of change the topic after that and didn't give us a lot of details. Today on Fox, his attorney, Alina Habba, who is, I think, a very good spokesperson for Trump on many levels. I'd like to see her end up doing something more in the campaign when it comes time. But she was quite strong in her defense, saying that, ultimately on appeal, Letitia James is going down hard.
Her goal was to try and hurt the president, try and hurt his family, his company. And quite honestly, all I can say to that without breaking my privilege and giving her a glimpse, which I would never give her the courtesy of having into our strategy, is that she has no chance. The appellate record is strong. The record is going to be very clear to the American public, and I look forward to having everyone see what we say and really get a glimpse of what happened in that 11 weeks in court. We have a great team. I'm proud of our team, and we're working around the clock to figure out what strategically is the best move. One thing I can tell you is that her goal of tearing down the Trump Organization, her goal of tearing down the individuals that work so hard, including on his campaign, his family, and the list goes on, her goal is frankly not going to succeed. That's all I'm willing to say. Look, this is a woman who ran on getting Trump before she even knew anything about the Trump Organization. She made good on a campaign promise, and she used Judge Engoron to help her facilitate that promise. If she thinks she is going to take him down, if that was her goal, which we all know very well it was, and she got a strong assist there in court. But I will tell you this, That goal will not be successful. And that is the message I can give to everyone listening here. It will not be successful. We've seen it happen time and time again. Look at what's happening in Georgia. Look at what's happening with Miss James going to Washington right before she files the complaint. We have proof of that now. We're not talking about it because it's so damaging. This is all political. There's absolutely no factual basis to it. There are truly no facts that support any of these decisions. And that, again, I can say will be made very clear in our appeal.
Well, I hope so, because I'm telling you, it angers me. And many New York companies are now starting to think about whether or not they want to be investing anymore in New York City. From the Washington Examiner, major investors pull business from New York City following Trump verdict. This could end up really hurting the state of New York in a big way. But if you look at it and you say, look, this guy didn't do anything wrong, and this was not a prosecution but a persecution. This was just, mean and vindictive and really didn't have anything to do with the way we do things. This kind of stuff happens all the time. You have conversations. It's a process. And this is the process as it usually plays out all over the country. So, are we now going to be, called into court at any time we want to build a building or take out a loan? So they're now actually thinking about starting to get out or to stop building new projects in New York. I wonder how that worked out for them. I wonder if in the long term they feel like it was a good idea, right? Sure, in the best case scenario, they get $354 million. In a worst case scenario, they lose billions and billions and billions, and people as they take their toys and they go elsewhere, take their fat wallets and they go to another state to build their projects. They may rue the day, and I think they will. And by the way, I don't think this thing stands a chance. It will be successful to have this overturned and appeal. 31 past the hour now, 3 o'clock.
.331, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Another absolutely gorgeous day on Music Row. Sunny, 69 degrees. Weather forecast, traffic report coming up in 5 minutes. An arrest reported in a theft from one of the Secret Service vehicles used to protect a member of the First Family. Stephen Portnoy reports.
It happened last November. Now the Secret Service has charged a 19-year-old D.C. man in the break-in of an agency SUV that was parked outside of first granddaughter Naomi Biden's house. Court documents say a police vest, night vision goggles, and chemical sticks were taken, among other items. A responding officer fired his service weapon after being nearly hit by a stolen getaway car. Investigators identified the suspect, Robert Kemp, by relying on surveillance footage and a McDonald's receipt that was found in the getaway car.
In Tennessee, there will be more license plate reader cameras. Channel 4 says at least 26 cities and local police agencies are applying for a license to install their own on interstate highways, including Clarksville, Brentwood, Smyrna, and the Wilson County Sheriff's Department. 9 jurisdictions, including Clarksville, have been approved. They're just waiting for grant money to buy the equipment. And check your laptop power cable as a company is issuing a recall of millions of Toshiba laptop chargers. Mark Rimmelard reports.
Dynabook America is announcing a recall of about 15.5 million Toshiba laptop AC adapters over fire and burn hazards, according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission. The commission says the recalled adapters can overheat and spark, posing a burn or fire risk. The adapters were sold both on their own and along with Toshiba laptops. They're black, and the model and serial numbers are printed on the back. Consumers can check if they're recalled on Dynabook's website.
And that is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
At 38 minutes now past the hour, let's head down to the swamp. I got a lot of swampalicious stuff to share with you here in this segment. I said this when I left Washington, many years ago, that I did not realize what a toxic place it was until I got outside of Washington. When you leave the confines of the Washington Beltway, and you get to real America. And you talk to people who are real Americans and living real American lives, not this weird thing that happens inside the superheated bubble of the Washington Beltway, inside the bubble in Washington. You soon learn that wow, that doesn't reflect what was going on there. Doesn't reflect reality at all. It has very little to do with how real people live and conduct their lives, and there is a toxicity to the city that you really can't feel. You can't really understand it until you get out of it for a while. I think that's true. High-profile House retirements reflect the toxicity on Capitol Hill from Hill.com, talking about how many House Republicans are racing for the exit at the end of this Congress, voicing a common and unsettling theme that life in Washington, D.C., and life on Capitol Hill in particular is just too toxic. The group features a number of young, powerful lawmakers, a handful of them with formidable committee gavels who say they're at their end of their ropes. And I think we could put Mark Green in that list. I mean, he said he learned that in Washington, you can't fix Washington from inside Washington because the Washington is not fixable. It needs to be fixed from the outside. And so that's why he's not going to run for re-election, surprising many people, because he had risen to become, in relatively short order, the chairman of a very powerful committee, the Homeland Security Committee. Both the number of retiring committee chairs and the open disillusionment marks a notable contrast from cycles of the past when a wave of majority party retirements might reflect an exodus of aging veteran lawmakers or concerns that control of the House could flip, or both. I mean, really, honestly, the difference between being in the majority and being in the minority in the House of Representatives is like the difference between chicken salad and chicken poop. I cleaned that up a little bit, but I mean, that's what has always been said. While the House is indeed up for grabs, the latest crop of departing Republicans seem to view that as an afterthought. Many are citing their exasperation in working in Congress, where internal GOP clashes have ground the task of legislating to a crawl, and the most incendiary voices reap the rewards of national fundraising, media attention, and political celebrity. Electoral politics was never supposed to be a career, and trust me, Congress is no place to grow old, said Representative Mike Gallagher, Republican of Wisconsin. He's hardly alone. Just 2 days before, Representative Kathy McMorris Rogers, a 20-year veteran who currently chairs the Powerhouse Energy and Commerce Committee, announced her intent to leave. We mentioned Mark Green, 59 years old, chairman of the Homeland Security Panel, followed suit, announcing his exit after only 6 years on Capitol Hill. They joined two other committee leaders, Kay Granger of Texas, Patrick McHenry of North Carolina, who holds the financial services gavel. He's calling it quits. Between the pair, they have nearly 50 years of experience in Congress. Now, I'm not one who thinks that you should make a lifetime career of Congress. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think that you go and you serve for a time and you come back. And maybe that's what Mark Green is trying to do. I think he has other political plans. I don't think his service to the people of Tennessee is done as yet, just between you and me. But anyway, our country and our Congress is broken almost beyond repair. I've come to realize our fight is not here in Washington. Our fight is with Washington, is what Green said. There we have that. I mean, and I think it's true, and I think it is a toxic place. And, I think, how do you fix that? Well, maybe we need new blood in there. Maybe we need I think it would help a lot if Republicans could just win a lot of elections, quite frankly. Here's some toxicity right there in the White House briefing room. As you know, you got Karine Jean-Pierre, and then you got John Kirby. John Kirby, they brought him in because they felt like, well, when it comes to national security issues and other things like that, we need somebody to speak on behalf of the National Security Council that advises the president. And it was probably a little bit beyond Kareen's depth, quite frankly, so they brought him in. Well, now he's been made an assistant to the president. See, there's levels of rank inside the White House. You can be a deputy assistant or you can be an assistant. And that's as high as you can go in the White House and not be chief of staff. So it's president, vice president, chief of staff, assistant to the president, and deputy assistant to the president. That's sort of the pecking order. And so they made him an assistant to the president, gave him sort of a promotion, and it's causing all kinds of weirdness between Karine Jean-Pierre and John Kirby. Apparently, the talk behind the scenes is that neither one of them is particularly happy with the other, and that, I think, impacts the messaging. To me, I mean, honestly, I understand why they went with Jean-Pierre. They wanted a black woman. They loved the fact that they had a gay black woman who was going to be the spokesman for the White House. And again, that's your DEI at work. We got to have some diversity there. So you get a gay black woman to become your spokesperson, but she's not hacking it. So you got to bring in another person to do it. And now, you can't fire Karine. You can't let her go. You would have to, it would have to be one of those things where she promoted up and out to something bigger where she would be destined to fail, but maybe not in such a public way. And John Kirby could take the job. I don't know what's going to happen. I suspect what's going to happen is that Karine Jean-Pierre will move over to the campaign at some point and leave Kirby there behind. I think that's probably the way it will work, but there is definitely a weirdness in the swamp between those two. Let's see. John Kirby has increasingly elbowed out Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre at the daily briefings. Ms. Jean-Pierre, who technically outranks Mr. Kirby, has been ceding more time to him both in the briefing room and on the Sunday morning talk shows. So I don't know. Be interesting. See how it all works out there. Keep an eye on that. The other thing I wanted to bring to you is that the president has once again done something that the Supreme Court has frowned upon. He has waived the debt of some 153,000 people who took out college loans. They're getting an email that says from Mr. Biden, "Hey, it's Joey Biden. Guess what? You no longer owe us any money." You know what this is honestly, I should probably put this in the 2024 report because this is a blatant attempt to buy votes. That's all it is. I mean, if you here we are, it's February, the election's in November, and all of a sudden you get an email from the president of the United States saying, "I'm so happy that I was able to, keep you from having to pay a lot of money that you promised to pay back. You don't have to pay it back now. So your loans have been forgiven." Again, I don't know how he gets away with it because the way I read it, the Supreme Court says you can't do that. You know who else believes that you can't do this? Nancy Pelosi believes you can't do this. And she had said so at one point, and then now she denies that she ever said it. But here it is.
People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress.
Well, there was no act of Congress. Oh, the president at one time said, "Yeah, we got it passed by Congress," but he didn't get it passed by Congress. Again, I don't know how they're doing it, and I don't know, but once you forgive it, you can't unforgive it, right? Once you tell somebody you don't have to pay it, your debt is forgiven. How do you claw that back? Even if the Supreme Court says you weren't supposed to have done that, oh, well, too late. Sorry. We've already done it. I don't know why, what do you want us to do now? So I don't know how they're doing it, but they are doing it. And this is like the third or fourth time they have found some way to forgive student loan debt. And again, a blatant, absolutely egregious attempt to buy votes. Talk about the power of the incumbency. You fly around on Air Force One and, you get your big dog motorcades and you got helicopters and all the trappings of the office, and you can have people come into the White House and it's a big honor and everything. You can use that. to sort of, bolster yourself with important people. There are a lot of things that you can do as an incumbent that people who challenge the incumbent cannot do. I think one of the big ones is, of course, just having a 747 at your disposal. And believe me, they say, well, we pay that back. They don't pay it back. Not all of it. They pay back a portion of it when they use the Air Force One for political campaigns. The argument being, well, he has to have the communications equipment aboard Air Force One because he's the president of the United States. So they do pay some of it back for campaign trips, but not really. And I mean, it's just really, it's a big dog deal when Air Force One lands in your town, when it flies in. And then it's a big deal when you see the Marine One flying around. It's a big deal when the motorcades come through and all the trappings of the office. So, I guess, when you're the president of the United States, you can snap your fingers and ignore the past rulings of the high court and wipe out $1.2 billion in federal debt. It's good to be the president, as they say. It is 50 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Vladimir Putin giving Kim Jong-un gifts, stolen credit cards in Franklin, Tennessee, student loan forgiveness, it's back, and the Oklahoma Supreme Court granting forgiveness. We'll tell you to who at 4 o'clock, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 56 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let's take a look at the markets right now. Dow Jones Industrial up 48 points on the day. S&P up just a little bit, 6. NASDAQ is down about 50 points, roughly. But, I mean, all eyes were on some aftermarket action with a company known as NVIDIA. And John Maxon is standing by over at Beacon Capital Management with more on exactly what the revenues were. Everybody was watching. Everybody wanted to know, how did it turn out?
Yeah, that's right, Brian. Good afternoon. It was really kind of a tense day in the market. The market was down early. Paid attention a little bit to the Fed today because the Fed minutes came out and they were pretty hawkish. Don't want to lower rates anytime soon. So the market was already nervous, but a lot of the market rally since October has been driven by NVIDIA, which has been this company that has just crushed it over the last 18 months or so. And they had some really high expectations. After hours, they were released, their earnings expectation, over $22 billion in revenue just from the fourth quarter. They absolutely smashed their expectations, even the earnings per share. So the market likes that up in the futures tomorrow. So good report for a company that's really growing.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. I think their expertise is AI, which is the hot take, I guess. Anyway, it's if you want to find out more about all the things that John and the nice folks over at Beacon Capital Management can do for you, just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. All right, imagine what you could do or how you would feel if you or your loved ones had no pain. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley can lead you to a pain-free life. For the month of February, the Wellness Institute of Nashville is offering life-changing non-surgical spinal decompression at 50% off. Now, it's already the 21st, so get started on this. This means payments could be as low as $30. Just call this number, 615-246-5009, to set up your consultation. Now, when you get there, Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley will review an advanced report of findings with you and review any previous MRIs in detail. They often find things that others have missed. You can then decide on their new age technology, which is the best fit for you. Besides the non-surgical spinal decompression, they have robot laser and knee decompression for those with knee ailments. Remember, it's 50% off non-surgical spinal decompression for new patients. That's cheaper than most of your insurance copays in many cases. So call Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley to set up your consultation today, 615-246-5009. I'm Brian Wilson, and the Wellness Institute of Nashville has my personal stamp of approval. So call them today, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Now, 4:01, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Nearly 70 degrees, 69 in Music City. Beautiful day. Traffic complete weather forecast 5 minutes away. The United States Department is responding to reports that Russia has given North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un a luxury car.
Vladimir Putin handed Kim Jong-un the keys to his country's version of a Bentley, a $300,000 Aurus Sonat limo. The State Department's reaction?
I actually, frankly, didn't know there was such a thing as a Russian luxury car. I hope Kim got the extended warranty.
Spokesman Matthew Miller saying if that limo gift report is true, Russia has violated UN sanctions against North Korea. There's no word on where Kim Jong-un plans to drive his new sweet ride.
Right now in Tennessee, Franklin police asking for the public's help in identifying two people accused of using a stolen credit card to purchase $3,000 worth of gift cards at the Sam's Club on Mallory Lane. The credit card was stolen out of business yesterday. This was on Southeast Parkway. Detectives said the suspects, a man and a woman, are believed to be traveling in a blue late model Nissan Altima. And check your email. Starting today, more than 150,000 people will be receiving emails from President Biden telling them their student loan debts have been forgiven. It's the latest debt forgiveness for millions of borrowers under Biden. During a speech this afternoon in Culver City, California, the president talked about the high stakes for borrowers.
While a college degree is still a ticket to a better life, that ticket is too expensive. And too many Americans are still saddled with unsustainable debt in exchange for a college degree.
To qualify, you must be enrolled in the president's new student loan repayment plan and have a low original balance of less than $12,000. In West Nashville, some woke up to no water pressure this morning after a water main break flooded White Bridge Pike from Kendall Drive to Knob Road. It was a 16-inch water line that crews repaired as water is now back on. The repairs took all morning. The Nashville Humane Association was forced to open late today. Oklahoma's Supreme Court granting survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre a chance to have their case for reparations heard in court. Mark Remillard reports.
The decision from the court grants 109-year-olds Leslie Benningfield Randall and Viola Fletcher an opportunity to move forward with their lawsuit seeking reparations from the city of Tulsa for the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, when a white mob looted and burned the city's Greenwood district. As many as 300 black Tulsans were killed. A district court previously dismissed the case, but now arguments are set for April, according to an attorney.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Good afternoon. 7 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. It's time for hour number 2 of The Drive on this unbelievably lovely day. I mean, we hit 71 here in bucolic Watertown, I think in Nashville as well. It was in the low 70s there for just a bit. Now, well, it's still 68 degrees. I mean, you know, the Bulldogs were loving life around the pool today, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I had to go and sit with them for a little while. I felt like they needed watching.
Yeah, sure.
Got a little sun, a little vitamin C. Yeah. Anyway, listen, I mean, beautiful day. I mean, you really can't complain when it's February 21st and it's 70 degrees outside and just nothing but abundant clear skies and abundant sunshine. So, you know, let's take it while we can get it.
That's right.
We probably still have one more snowstorm left before we can call it over. But I sure did enjoy today. I guess we'll call this a 2024 update because we got a lot of things to, and we have a ton of numbers, but the numbers are very telling, and I've tried to break them down in a way where you can sort of grasp them. You know, when you're reading a lot of numbers, it's easy to get lost, but I think I've done this in a way that you can sort of carry out the general theme and get the sense of what's going on. Now, I've told you before that, you know, the big numbers where they say general election numbers, you know, Trump is up by 1 or 2. Well, those are interesting, but they're really not the way we choose president. As we know, you can win the popular vote, but lose the election. And that has happened on at least 2 occasions that I can remember. And so what you care about is the Electoral College vote, and the way you get to that is you have to win the difficult states. And now some states are always going to be blue and some states are always going to be red, but it's those purple states, those dadgum purple states, the so-called battleground states that you really have to look at. And so the folks over at Emerson, a very respected polling company, have come up with some key results from the battleground states. You ready for this? And they're not all of them, but a few of them. I guess more will be coming. In Georgia, if it's a two-way race between Trump and Biden, Trump wins by 6 in Georgia. If it's a 5-way race, and that's really probably the better number to look at because there probably will be at least 5 candidates, some of them, all of them, you know, 2 big candidates and a lot of minor candidates. And RFK will be in there. Well, in a 5-way race in Georgia, Trump wins by 9. That is outside the margin of error. North Carolina, another battleground state. A 2-way race between Trump and Biden, Trump wins by 2. But if it's a 5-way race, which is, you know, really the better way to look at it, Trump wins again by 9. I have yet to find an example of when you go to multiple candidates beyond just the 2, where Trump does worse. He always does better, and Biden does worse. Pennsylvania, a 2-way race between Trump and Biden. Trump will win by 2 if the election were held today, according to this poll. If it's a 5-way race and you look at those numbers, Trump wins by 5. So in 2 out of the 3 here, it looks like in the 5-way race, it's outside the margin of error. And I tell you what, you've got to pick up these battleground states. There's another poll out there that just looks at the 2-way race. It's by a company called Epic in Michigan. And they have, in a 2-way race, Trump winning by 4. I mean, if you follow the logic of how it generally Trump gets more coverage when you look at a 5-way race, it's probably somewhere around 6 or 7, which would be right at the margin of error in the state of Michigan. So great report there from Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. And that's not all the battleground states, but that's some important ones. By the way, they also took a look at what happens if, for some reason, Biden is not the nominee. What if it were to be Gavin Newsom of California in a 2-way race in the state of Georgia? Trump would win over Gavin Newsom by almost 20 points. Wow. In North Carolina, Newsom would lose by 15 points. Trump would beat him by 15 points in the state of North Carolina. What about Harris? In Georgia, Trump would beat Harris by 10 points. In North Carolina, Trump would beat Harris by 9 points. So all of that stuff looks really, really strong. for Donald Trump. But again, it's so early, and you don't want to get too cocky. You don't want to get too. But I mean, these are good numbers. This is where you would want to be, and they've got to be terrifying numbers for Democrats. I mean, every day they look at these numbers, they've got to be panicking over there, just absolutely panicking. By the way, I just decided I would look again to see where we are on the Real Clear Politics average. This is, again, a general election poll, nationwide. How's Trump doing? How's Biden doing? In the two-way comparison, nationwide, Trump is now leading Biden by 2. But if you look at the 5-way matchup, he leads by 5. So are you with me? When you look strictly at, you can almost add about, at least 3, but sometimes more points when you bring in people like, Kennedy and West and all of the sort of, and there may be more than 5 before we get to the November. There could be a no labels party candidate in there. Who knows what's going to happen there? But I mean, we could have 6, 7 candidates that take votes away from Joe Biden. So I'm pretty happy with the way these numbers look right now, and I think it's good for us. And in South Carolina, I don't have the current numbers at my fingertips, but I'll just say again, if you're worried about Nikki Haley, don't, because Trump is anywhere between 22 and 26 points ahead of Nikki Haley, based on the last 2 polls I saw in South Carolina. I don't know why she's hanging around. I don't know what her plan is. Don't know what her game is, but she stays at it. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Biden for a moment and Kamala. Kamala was asked the question, and I want you to listen very carefully to the way she answers the question. It's almost like she's reciting it from memory, or like she's reading it off a cue card. Tell me if you don't think I'm right about this. She's doing an interview, and somebody said, well, are you ready to take over if you need to take over?
What do you say to those concerns, specifically if he had to pass the powers to you for 1 second, 1 minute, heaven forbid, and I ask with all due respect, but, are you capable, are you ready to step into the role and do whatever the country would need?
Absolutely ready. But thank God our president is in good shape, in good health, and is ready to lead in our second term.
I mean, it's like they told her to memorize that line. She, you could tell when somebody's been to media training and they're reciting a line, a talking point that they were told is, no, say it this way. No, Kamala, say it this way. No, let's get it right. Do it again. That's exactly what I'm hearing when I hear that. And then aboard Air Force One, while, the president's out in California, they did the briefing on Air Force One. And it was a question. I mean, boy, I can't imagine, having to answer these questions. And the fact of the matter is, Karine Jean-Pierre doesn't ever really answer the question. A lot of hemming and hawing, a lot of word salad. But she was asked, do you think it's fair game for us in the press to ask about the president's age?
The publisher of the New York Times has talked about getting flack from the White House for its coverage of the president's age. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you think is sort of fair game when covering the nation's oldest president and what might be off limits?
So, look, a couple of things there that I would say on that particular item. Look, you all ask me pretty regularly about the president's age, and we lay out what our perspective is. We lay out what we've seen this president do in the last 3 years, which is deliver on historic piece of legislation that's going to change the lives of Americans for generations to come. Now to your question more specifically about the New York Times coverage, is that display what we believe a journalistic objectivity about coverage of the president's age speaks to why we agree with former New York Times public editor Margaret Sullivan. And she says maybe the Times and other major media outlets ought to look in the mirror. Self-scrutiny and course correction are not among their core strengths. And I'll leave it there.
I have no idea what she just said. Do you obviously it's hard to hear her because above the roar of the engines of Air Force One back in the press cabin. But I don't know what she said there. The first 15 seconds were hemming and hawing while she's trying to figure out how she's going to get out of this tough question. but I think it's fair to ask those questions. I really, 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 really do. Okay, Donald Trump did a big town hall last night with Laura Ingraham on Fox. It was pretty good. I think there was a lot of stuff there. The real headline out of that is that Laura tried to pin him down on his vice presidential running mates, and he confirmed a bunch of names. And here it is.
When Biden ran, he pledged he was going to pick a female vice president in 2020. What qualities are you looking for in your vice presidential pick?
Well, always the first quality has to be somebody that you think will be a good president, because if something should happen, you have to have somebody that's going to be a great president. A lot of people are talking about that gentleman right over there.
A reference to Tim Scott in the audience.
And he's been so great. He's been such a great advocate. I have to say, this is in a very positive way, Tim Scott. He has been much better for me than he was for himself. I watched his campaign, and he doesn't like talking about himself, but boy, does he talk about Trump. And I said, I called him. I said, Tim, you're better for me than you were for yourself. But he's fantastic, and he's a fantastic person.
Someone who can step into the role.
Most importantly, you have to view that.
The audience has been asked who they think would be a good choice, and various names came up. One of them was, of course, Vivek Ramaswamy. He's made a big splash. Ron DeSantis, who's making an appearance today in South Carolina, we just found out. Obviously, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, and a big presence here for Tulsi Gabbard. Very interesting. And Kristi Noem as well, I should say. Right. Are they all on your short list? And when can we expect that you will announce your choice?
The one thing that always surprises me is that the VP choice has absolutely no impact. It's whoever the president is. It just seems. I remember when Sarah Palin was actually picked, and she did have a big up, and then they just went after her at a level that nobody's seen. The Republicans themselves went after what they did.
But you'll be a one-term president because you've already served, so you can only serve for one term, although they say you'll never leave office. I assume that you'll never leave. There'll never be another election
don't
again.
Do it. He'll never leave. He's never going. Oh, these people.
So for that reason, it is important who you pick.
So I think it's very important. But look, first is that, as we said, it has to do with whoever is, it's a very important position for that reason. You would like to get somebody that could help you from the voter standpoint. And honestly, all of those people are good. They're all good. They're all solid. And I always say, I want people with common sense, because there's so many things happening in this country that don't make sense. Who wants an open border? Who wants high interest rates? Who wants all electric vehicles? And they're fine, but you want to have choice. You want to go to combustion. You want to go to any hybrid. I think the hybrid are much better from that standpoint. But we were talking about faucets. We're talking about so much. It's all based on common sense. We want a strong military. We want choice in education. We want to have things that can really make our country great again. What we're doing with the open border is a disaster. We are destroying our country. We're going to change that fast, and we're going to get your energy prices down.
Mr. President, thank you so much for this.
Well, I got to tell you, I thought that was a great performance by Laura and a great performance by Donald Trump. This is the Trump I want to see on the campaign trail. Just stick to the points. Just, keep talking about how bad they are and how things were better when you were president and what you want to do, and just stick to those talking points and do not veer off the talking points. It takes discipline to do that, but it sounds this was a very disciplined performance by the president, where he laid out the things that are important to him, and that president. We don't see him all the time, but I like him now. I hope that this is the approach that we have on the campaign trail. Sometimes he gets a little out there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying anything I haven't said 100 times before. I love Donald Trump's policies. I think sometimes he goes awry on talking points and goes places he doesn't need to go to win the presidency. And it causes people to lose their minds, and you just don't need that. So I'm hoping that this is an example of what we're going to see on the campaign trail. I have noticed that this time around, he does seem to be a lot more disciplined about the communication process, which is a good thing, a really good thing. Let's call it 22 past the hour now, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
We've got news concerning President Biden's brother, James Biden, and some money news coming your way. 4:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 26 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We here, I believe that the truth is out there, but we don't know what the truth is. And, when we talk about, all this stuff with UFOs, I'm fascinated by, what our military people are encountering and how Washington now, it seems to be for the very first time, acknowledging that there's something out there that we don't really know what it is, and Congress now trying to get some answers. Republican Florida Representative Anna Paulina Luna told the Grant Mitt podcast that she absolutely believes the UFOs described in recent whistleblower testimonies are not man-made. She is a member of the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. They met in January to receive a classified hearing on UFOs, UAPs. Following the meeting, she told the podcaster Grant Mitt that she believes, are you ready for this? This is one I haven't heard before, that UFOs are non-human origin and contain interdimensional beings which should not be confused with extraterrestrial beings. Okay. The term interdimensional suggests these creatures are not from our version of Earth, but from a different dimension or parallel universe.
Ooh.
Or as she put it, they're not necessarily a biological entity from another planet per se. And then she talked about how she has been trying to get more answers, and that she was, and this is the phrase she uses, I was men in blacked by the Pentagon and by the CIA. She was trying to meet Air Force personnel who said they've had encounters. Men in black means some guys in suits followed her and tried to dissuade her from her work. We were coordinated in the meeting. The Pentagon tried to initially cancel the first one. We got it back on the books. We show up there, we get in. The base commander tried to basically tell us that we didn't have authorized clearance to look into and speak to some of the witnesses. She is encouraged by what she says, the bipartisan nature of the push for government agency disclosure on UFOs, but says, that might be false hope. Various elected officials have tried to wring the truth about aliens out of these institutions for decades, and so far they haven't. Interdimensional beings, parallel universes. There's some wild theories out there. I happened to see it's a sort of a documentary about Einstein the other day. I was watching it. That's because I have no life. But I was watching this, and it's very clear to me that, we perceive what we perceive. Einstein believed there were things out there that we were beyond our ability to perceive. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Time has no meaning because it's relative. E equals MC squared. It's way above my ability to do that kind of math. But one way or the other, he did believe that there were things that, were beyond our ability to comprehend. And I always wonder if is that what we're witnessing? Things that we can't possibly comprehend or understand because we just don't have the ability to see anything beyond what we see. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Not really, but I think I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Well,
it's one of those things.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just one of weird things. So anyway, non-human origin, possibly interdimensional beings, which should not be confused with extraterrestrial beings. Yeah, that's right. So again, listen, whatever they got, it's time for them to share what they know or what they think they know or their theories on what we need to know and just tell us the truth. I think the American people, we have come to the point now where we believe when these pilots say they have seen things they can't explain, we believe them. They're credible. They're absolutely credible. And we have, in many cases, we've captured video and radar images of some of these things that can fly through the air and fly through the water and do these amazing things. I think we're ready. Whatever it is, just lay it on us.
Just let us have it. Unless it's bad, and then we don't want it.
It's 30 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock.
.30 at Mac Maury with your top story. 68 degrees, beautiful day in Nashville. Forecast traffic report just ahead. President Biden's brother, James Biden, sitting for a deposition before one of the House Republican-led committees conducting the impeachment inquiry into the president. He testified President Biden never had any involvement in his overseas business dealings or those of Hunter Biden. Jay O'Brien.
Some of the most pointed questions House Republicans had for James Biden revolve around two personal checks he made to his brother, the president, when Joe Biden was a private citizen. James Biden told the committee they were repayments for short-term loans his brother gave him and not evidence, as Republicans alleged, of payments flowing from overseas business dealings to Joe Biden. That unproven claim that President Biden benefited from his son and brother's overseas business dealings is central to the Republican-led impeachment inquiry.
Now over to the money news, Daria Albinger.
Stocks closed mixed on some last-minute momentum. The Dow added 48 points and the S&P rose 6, both turning positive shortly before the close, while the Nasdaq fell 50 points. Network security company Palo Alto slipped 27.2% after announcing weaker than usual earnings and a lackluster profits report. Fortinet fell 4.6%. Tech stocks, which drove most of the market's latest rally, which resulted in new records last week, took the biggest hit this session. Amazon rose 0.1% after announcing that it was being added to the Dow. The internet commerce giant will replace the Walgreens Boots Alliance, which fell 3.3% before the opening bell on Monday. The Fed has released the minutes of its latest meeting, and to almost no one's surprise, central bankers continue to say that they're worried about cutting interest rates too soon.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Let me tell you about Restoration Wellness Med Spa. I'm very excited because I'm in the middle of a journey to lose some weight with the help from folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa. It's true, I lost a lot of weight last year. It had to do with some things I was going through, but as I started to get feeling better, I started to gain the weight back, and I don't want it to get out of control. So I'm working with these folks to come up with a plan. Now, here's the thing I want you to know. I have never taken on a weight loss client before, but I like the way Carly and Jamie and the folks at Restoration Wellness Med Spa approach this, because it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. They took the time to really look at my history, my lifestyle, and then customize a plan that best fits my needs. It's a customized treatment plan, and I'll be sharing how it's going in the days ahead. But in the meantime, why don't you do what I did, set up an appointment to develop your customized treatment plan at Restoration Wellness Med Spa, be a part of the more than 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results. Whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness Med Spa has a solution for you. Take advantage of the newest ideas in weight loss management. 615-470-8124. Learn more at restorationwellnessmedspa.com. It is 38 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock. Normally we would be talking with Pete Hegseth, but I just got I got an emergency text from Pete that he's still on a plane somewhere. He's at 30,000 feet and he can't do it. So he said the plane was running late, so we'll have to catch up with him next week perhaps. But I mean, I tell you what, I got to tell you, we can count on Pete. We don't talk to Pete, very often, except when he's on the air. We never really talk to him or bug him about it. Just sort of a weekly appointment, and he's almost always there. So,
and if he's not, he lets you know.
He lets you know in advance. I can't be there. I got a kid's basketball game or something like that. Or I'm sorry, I've got an assignment. I can't be there. But I mean, this is I think he loves being on this station, and he loves. I just want to say this. I really think he is so enamored and having such a good time being a part of what we do here in Middle Tennessee. Because, you see him on the weekends on Fox and Friends. He and that little team there, it's a very engaging group. They're quite good at what they do. And then, he gets on a plane and, sometimes he has to go to other assignments. But he lives in Sumner County with his family there. And we love having him being on the program. And so we certainly understand that sometimes, the airlines don't get you where you need to be when you think that you need to be there. So that we'll talk to him next week, I'm sure. I'm going to talk about James Biden, brother of Joe Biden. James Biden was behind closed doors today, being questioned by the House Oversight Committee as part of their investigation into the activities of his brother. The Oversight Committee trying to determine whether or not Joe Biden has committed an impeachable offense by some of the things that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and James Biden were all wrapped up in doing business. Was there any quid pro quo? Was he in any way compromised the current president of the United States by helping out James and Hunter and all those folks? I mean, look, it's one thing to say that you think it's true, but it's another thing to prove it. And it's a difficult thing to prove. But here's what I know about the House Oversight Committee. They're working this thing hard. They have gone after bank records that sat dormant, that the FBI never cared to look at, the Department of Justice never cared to look at, the IRS never cared to look at. Oh, there were all kinds of signs that something weird was going on, but they didn't want to look at it. I don't want to look because I might find something. I don't want to find anything, so I'm not going to really look at these numbers. Well, now the Republicans take over the House in January a year ago, and so they since then they've been trying to get to the bottom of all this, and so we're trying to figure out what's in these documents. And James Biden there's some real questions here. Now, the story that comes out is, and we will hear more about this because I think he's probably still answering questions today. But the story that has emerged throughout the day is based on the statement that he wrote. All right. When you go in for one of these things, you give a statement. And that's been carefully crafted by your lawyers, okay? And what has emerged, probably leaks from Democrats on this matter, is from his statement. James Biden says his brother has never had any involvement or any financial interest in business ventures. The president's brother arrived on Capitol Hill Wednesday morning for a closed-door deposition before the House Oversight and Judiciary Committee. And Fox News Digital obtained the first brother's opening statement. See, that's what I told you. I have had a 50-year career in a variety of business ventures, James Biden said in his opening statement. Joe Biden has never had any involvement or any direct or indirect financial interest in those activities. None. James Biden went on to defend his brother, saying that because of his intimate knowledge of my brother's personal integrity and character, as well as my own strong ethics, I've always kept my professional life separate from our close personal relationship. I've never asked my brother to take any official action on behalf of me, my business associates, or anyone else. Okay, so that's from his statement, which is, carefully crafted by a team of lawyers, and to make sure that he has not said anything in the statement that could possibly get him into trouble. Because, the real thing that can happen here is that if you go in and testify and you don't tell the truth, and then the proof comes out that you had lied under oath, then you're in a whole bunch of trouble. But this is the story that caught my eye from the New York Post, which it does not rely upon the opening statement, but relies on some good old-fashioned shoe leather reporting. James Biden said that Joe Biden was present for a call about a now bankrupt hospital firm the president's brother allegedly fleeced. President Biden's younger brother, James, and the future president was sitting right next to him during a business call about how a now bankrupt hospital business James allegedly fleeced, according to a new report mirroring first son Hunter Biden's infamous assertion to a Chinese businessman in July that he was, quote, sitting here with my father in a shakedown text message. Joe Biden also met with the founder of AmeriCorps Health Enterprises before it went belly up, harming its rural patients in the process, and he was at one point penciled in for an equity stake, Politico reported. This is coming from Politico. Which, by the way, they're not always, I would say they report more to the left than to the right, Politico. Current presidential physician Dr. Kevin O'Connor even participated in a business meeting at a Pennsylvania hospital with James Biden after the facility was acquired by AmeriCorps. James Biden, age 74, expected to be grilled on details of his dealing and Joe Biden's potential involvement during a Wednesday deposition before the House impeachment inquiry, which is also likely to probe Joe Biden's role in his brother's business adventures in countries like China, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer revealed bank records in October showing James Biden paid $200,000 to brother Joe on March 1st of 2018, the same day he received a matching amount from AmeriCorps in exchange for working his political connections to help secure the hospital chain, a Middle Eastern investor. An earlier $400,000 payment was made to James Biden by AmeriCorps on January 12th of 2018. $200,000 to brother Joe. And he said, well, I was repaying a loan. So in total, James Biden received about $600,000 in loan from the company before it folded, according to a July 2022 bankruptcy filing, with the first brothers taking the money based on a representation that his name, Biden, could open doors. So, when you hear, the initial reporting, and I think that news organizations do a disservice when they take these statements and say, here's what came out of that meeting. It's not what came out of the meeting. It's what came out of his opening statement. But then the questioning begins, and, and we will take several days for us to find out exactly what they were able to learn. And, and by the way, the House Oversight Committee is holding on to stuff. I don't think they've showed all their cards yet. So, when James Biden walks in there for a long round of questioning that's going to go for hours and hours and hours, there's a pretty good chance that his lawyers don't know everything that the House Oversight Committee has, because they keep a few things back. I think they play their cards pretty close to their vests. What are the questions from justthenews.com? They want to answer three major questions. Number one, how the Biden family traded on their name, especially Joe Biden's name. Number two, finding any ways that Joe Biden benefited financially from his family's dealings. And number three, whether Joe Biden had any knowledge or involvement of these family deals. Well, if he was sitting there while his brother was on the phone, he would have knowledge, would he not? See, then here's the thing that I think you need to remember about all of this is that everybody seems to think you gotta have Joe Biden. You have to have clear-cut evidence that Joe Biden got a cut. Now, I think there's some evidence that's pretty out there. Oh, well, yeah, sure, we wrote him some checks, but that was just repayment for a loan. Okay, well, where's the evidence of the loan? What was the loan for? Where was that deposit? In other words, if Joe Biden gave his brother James a $200,000 loan, then that money ought to be somewhere. What did they do with it? It had to go to a bank account, or did you just keep it under his mattress? I mean, what happened to that $200,000? What did it go for? And why? And then when you pay it back, well, you're happy to say you paid it back, but it was a loan. Well, where's evidence of the loan? So there's a lot of stuff here that I wish that they would wait until they get the complete deposition done before we start hearing, oh, well, he says he didn't do anything. Well, that's just his side of the story. But as you've known, if you've watched any trials at all, if you ever watched, somebody gives their opening statement, led by their attorneys, and then you find out, well, when you start asking the hard questions, maybe a different story emerges, huh? So there you have it. That's happening today. By the way, and I just want to mention this, James Biden is a big get. And I have a feeling that we're going to learn in the next day or so a lot more about what he said behind closed doors. The next big deposition is Hunter Biden. And that would be, I think that'll be a circus day on Capitol Hill. There'll be craziness as everybody's trying to get pictures of Hunter Biden showing up for his deposition before and after. So we'll watch it very closely. The thing goes on and on and on. And again, you're not hearing an awful lot about it, but that doesn't mean that they're not actually working it hard every day. And we'll see what comes out of it. We'll keep watching. 50 minutes now, past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Student loan forgiveness, racism allegations against a Williamson County school, new sanctions against Russia, and a teacher put on administrative leave in Tennessee. Those stories and more, 5 o'clock. Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
It's 57 minutes now past the hour. Just to remind you, we have a Super Talk Live event at the Nashville Palace on March 5th, which is Election Day. It's Super Tuesday, and we're going to be sitting around having some good food and some good companionship there at the Nashville Palace. I've always wanted to play the Palace, so now I'm going to be able to say I did that. Listen to Dan, Chris, Matt, and me for a night of food and conversation. Entry fee, no charge. Food is on you. And you reserve a table online, you're automatically in the running for a massive hot chicken and barbecue tailgate package for 25 people. Starts at 6. So we'll be doing our broadcast from out there. Details at 99.7 WTN. Brought to you by the Glock Store, Busy Bee, and Nutrition.com. It is now 58 minutes past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
Five o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 66 degrees in Nashville. Traffic, complete weather forecast. It's headed your way in 5 minutes. President Biden today gave more than 150,000 Americans a break from their student loans. Andy Field on the president's latest push for debt relief.
The president says he fixed the Save Student Loan program so that if you've repaid debt for a decade, you could have the rest of the loan below $12,000 forgiven.
This is kind of relief can be life-changing for individuals and for their families.
The president on a campaign swing in California, reminding voters he's keeping his student debt relief promise and finding a way around a Supreme Court decision that said he could not do that with another program.
Right now in Tennessee, some heavy allegations of racism have come out against Independence High School. Parents of Alana Reed claim that she was called a monkey and the N-word in school. The parents claimed to the Williamson County Board of Education that the boy who made the threats also threatened to shoot all black people in that school. That student has been removed from her class, but the parents want him taken out of the school entirely. Reed says that she is in fear when she goes to school. The European Union has approved new sanctions on Russia, and Estela Catera has more.
EU countries approving a 13th package of sanctions on Russia related to the war in Ukraine. Belgium touting this latest package as one of the broadest approved by the EU. It targets nearly 200 entities and individuals either accused of involvement in kidnapping Ukrainian children or of helping Moscow procure weapons. This comes just ahead of the 2-year anniversary of the war in Ukraine.
Right now in Tennessee, a Metro school teacher, LaShawn Johnson, was put on administrative leave after breaking up a fight between students. Administrative leave allows the district to investigate before any further action is taken. The NSTB says a bridge that collapsed in Pittsburgh in 2022 should have been closed down years earlier. Mark Remillard reports.
The NTSB releasing its findings in the 2022 collapse of the Fern Hollow Bridge, finding severe shortcomings in the way the city was maintaining and repairing bridges, as well as serious problems with Pennsylvania's bridge inspection program. The NTSB said the collapse should have never happened and that state and city inspectors failed to do proper analysis of the bridge's load capacity. And if they had done it properly, they would have closed the bridge in 2014. 4 people were injured when that bridge came down.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, good afternoon. 6 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and this is The Drive for the 21st day of February. That's right, and beautiful day it was. We're still at 66 degrees here in Bucolic, Watertown. We were at, last I saw, the high was around 71, 72 degrees. I'll take that. I'll take that. Yep. I'll take that all day long. I usually hit the studio, make the trek from the house to the studio about noon. But I went early today because I wanted to sit out with the puppies for a little bit around the pool. It was nice.
Basking in the sun.
I mean, it was very pleasant, and the bulldogs were lazy and lounging. They didn't, and when it came time to take them and put them back inside, they didn't want to go. They wanted to stay outside. Problem is, I can't do that now because, well, you've been to my house. You know that there's a wrought iron gate.
Yes.
That you have to go through 2 wrought iron gates to get from the house, and in between is what we call Grogu's garden, which is really just where Grogu goes to poop. So its name, it sounds better than it is, but anyway, I found out, very surprised, very shocked, that second gate does not stop the little one at all.
Oh, not big enough yet,
right through the gap in the gate, and she was. I said, well, "Where?" I looked around. I was already out to the garage, and there was a little dog behind me. I said, "Wait! How did you get through that gate?" So I had to go back and make a barrier on the gate.
You got to put a little extra up there, huh?
It's a temporary fix. A temporary fix. But she didn't miss a beat. She went right there. Grogu, on the other hand, when she was a puppy, was not smart enough to figure that out. She said, "Oh, gate, I can't." Well, there's a gate here. She never ever, tried to go through the gate. Yeah. She just assumed it's a gate, and I'm not supposed to go beyond that gate.
It's closed, so I can't go.
And I see a gate, but she never really, she doesn't have spatial reasoning. The little one apparently does.
Well, good.
No,
maybe not. Yeah.
No, it's not good. It's not good. I tell you, that little dog. You talk about how. You got a mama dog, and you got the mama dog will lead the little dog and train the little dog. She will see what the mama dog does, and but that's not the way it works. It's not the way it works with these two. The little dog is troublesome, and has gotten Grogu into more trouble than you can shake a stick at. It's like it just gets her all revved up, and they are just, they just tear through the house. Constant barking and yapping, and I thought it was going to be so easy. It's not at all.
Just give it some time.
The problem is Grogu wasn't that bright. Let's be honest. She's just not. She's a lovely dog. I love that dog. I'm just crazy about her. But let's be honest. She's not the smartest dog I ever had. But the little one is sharp as a tack. The little one must have gotten some genes from its daddy, because I'm telling you, that dog is smart and troublesome. Enough of that. I got some numbers here, some stories about Middle Tennessee, but some of it's economic, some of it is other stuff, but they're all things that are going on here in Middle Tennessee. I thought this was interesting. I saw it on the Channel 2 website. A new report from a group called Zumper, Zumper, shows that the price people are paying to live in Middle Tennessee is going down in Nashville, but it's going up in the suburbs. Now, that caught my attention because I wonder, why is it going down in Nashville but up in the suburbs? And what it tells me is, apparently, and we're talking about apartments here, it's going down in Nashville because they have an abundance. And by the way, maybe people don't want to live in the city anymore. They want to live out in the suburbs. Are people, leaving the downtown area for one reason or another to live in the suburbs? I don't know. The statistics for 2024 January show the price of a one-bedroom unit in Nashville fell to, seems a little low to me, $1,730 for a one-bedroom. A two-bedroom's about $1,920. Overall, in the state of Tennessee, a one-bedroom apartment, on average in the whole state, is about $1,160, which seems about right, probably. The more expensive places to rent a one-bedroom was Brentwood, One bedrooms there cost $1,870, followed by Nashville, which is number 2. Franklin, then a jump of is up about 1.8%, and then the rent in Murfreesboro is going up. That's the top 4 most expensive places within the sound of my voice to rent an apartment. Brentwood, Nashville, Franklin, Murfreesboro. But watch Columbia. Their rent has gone up dramatically, but it still was far enough below that it hasn't caught up with some of these big ones, but it's gone up 17% of late. You get another month like that, and you're going to be talking about least expensive place to get an apartment. You want to get a lot of bang for your apartment buck? Cookville and Clarksville. You can get rent under $1,000.
Oh, not too shabby.
That's not too bad. If you drive a hybrid or an electric vehicle, guess what? You get tagged for an extra $100 when you register your car every year. Beginning this year, the registration fee for electric vehicles is $200, a hybrid vehicle $100. If you own a gas-powered car, there is no extra fee. The new registration fee for hybrids and plug-in hybrids is $100. For electric vehicles, even more. Wayne Geider, a retired Alcoa worker, owned his Toyota Avalon, a hybrid, for nearly 6 years, and Jason Mullins, a contractor, owns a hybrid as well, a Toyota Prius. Mullins gets nearly 50 miles to the gallon in his Prius. And they were caught off guard when they found out they renewed their tags and they had to write an extra check. You know, you have an extra $100 fee for that Prius. Excuse me? Yeah. And if it's a purely electric, it's $200. Law went into effect January of 2024. So you get ready to pay a little more to register your car on an annual basis. Nashville's airport celebrates the opening of the new Hilton Hotel. And, you know, I drive down past the airport when I'm going into town, and I see this huge hotel rising up, you know, over the airport, and now it's open. I didn't know that it was already open. I'll tell you, it seems like they move pretty quick out there when they're building stuff. Nashville's International Airport, B&A, celebrating the opening of 2 projects, part of a massive expansion plan. The Hilton Hotel at B&A is now open for business. It's part of several renovations that have been constructed in the past 4 years. It's on top of Terminal 1 Garage and includes 300 rooms, a restaurant, a music lounge with a bar, a coffee shop, a rooftop pool. The 9-story, $95 million hotel has a meeting and event space there. And then they also opened up their satellite concourse. It's the airport's first freestanding 8-gate satellite concourse. It's gates C4 through C11, designated primarily to accommodate Allegiant Air and Spirit Airlines. You have to take a shuttle. Did you know that? You know, if you want to fly Allegiant or Spirit, there's a chance you're going to be on a shuttle over to the satellite concourse, C4 through C11.
You might just want to take a shuttle the entire trip.
Yeah.
You know, just skip the airplane.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. You know, that would make me not want to do it probably. I mean, I fly Southwest most of the time, and that was still apparently in the main airport. But I've heard people say that, you know, you get off the airplane, you got to realize, what? I have to take a shuttle to go back to the main airport? But apparently you do.
Need to put one of those little automated trains in like they got down in Atlanta.
Yeah, or they have one of those in Dallas at DFW as well.
Yeah.
It goes around in a big circle. Yeah, I don't know. But, you know, this is the way it is at Dulles Airport in the Washington, D.C. area. There are only a few planes that are at the main terminal. Almost everything else you have to get on a people mover. And they're the ugliest thing. I mean, I don't know who designed these things. They're just the ugliest things you ever saw. But you know, they run you back and forth to the different, you know, it's all out there. You just have to take a people mover. But I noticed that apparently one day the people movers out there went on strike, and it just completely shut the airport down. People couldn't get, they land out at their terminal, but it's away from the main terminal where they need to go get their car or to, find their rent cars, and they couldn't get there. I don't know how
stuck.
They were just stuck. I mean, they're just like nobody knew this was going to happen, and it was just a big yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if they're apparently it was a union thing. I don't know, but it was bad. I remember reading some stories about it. This story really is very sad, but I'm going to tell you, as bad as it is, at least the folks, I think, were able to turn it around somewhat. This is from Channel 4's website. Parents of a youth basketball team say they were turned away from a Murfreesboro restaurant over the weekend, despite the establishment being mostly empty. These folks were in a wheelchair basketball team, and they showed up with their families at Bad Daddy's Burger Bar around 4:30 on Saturday, and they were allegedly told by the staff that their group of 27 could not be seated. Erica Bowen, whose daughter is on the Birmingham-based Lakeshore Foundation team, said they were told they presented a fire hazard. I guess the wheelchairs, they thought people couldn't, but their place was empty, they say. No doubting, every player there knew that we could not eat there and were asked to leave. So when my daughter asked me why we could not eat there, for the first time I had to explain that they were scared of so many wheelchairs, and that's how I sort of explained it to her. They were in town for a basketball tournament hosted by the Able Youth and Executive Director, and which relies on donations to motivate children who are in wheelchairs. Oh, what a great idea that is. I mean, that's a lovely thing. I love that. And what a lovely thing to do, and have it completely destroyed by, this restaurant. They filed a formal complaint with the Americans with Disabilities Act with the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division on behalf of the team. Of course, I want this establishment to change their way. I think that would be wonderful, but we also want further understanding of what people with disabilities go through, so maybe in the future other establishments won't make the same mistakes. Bad Daddy's Burger Bar has now apologized, as you might imagine, about the incident, and here's what the CEO said. On Saturday, the Lakeshore Foundation basketball team and their families came to our restaurant to celebrate their tournament and enjoy a meal together. We tried to accommodate their desire to be seated together and served at the same time. We missed, I don't know if it's a typo or just badly written. We had some missteps in the process. That's on us, and we apologize for not delivering on the service and experience expectation that brought them to Bad Daddy's. We extend our sincere apology to each member of the team and their families. We'd like to make this right for them, and we'll work with the team to do so. We see this as a teaching moment for our staff, and we will strive to do better. Well, I mean, I think they're going to have to do some explanation, because I'm telling you, the Justice Department probably will be in touch with them, wanting to know, what in the heck were you thinking, But I will say, look, when you find yourself, I don't know what they were thinking when they said, no, you can't come in. But when you make a mistake, I've always found the most efficient thing you could do is to just sincerely apologize for it. Lord knows the times I've gotten into trouble by being, sincere and admitting that I made a mistake. It goes a long way with people. And it seems like so many times when you're accused of something that, went wrong, people's reaction is to get defensive. In a situation like this, there's something good to be said about the folks at Bad Daddy's, and at least they acknowledge that they really screwed up. And part of it has to do that they're going to have the Department of Justice breathing down their neck probably. But, I mean, I think they do realize that this was handled badly by staff. And I don't know what they were thinking. Why in the world would you do something like that? Tell them no. You try to accommodate people, I guess, as best you can. But anyway, the Lakeshore Foundation team has created shirts for their student athletes that say fire hazard. I hope our kids can see some sort of apology from the people who turned them away. I think it's important for the children themselves to see that. I bet you that Bad Daddy's does something. But they were bad daddies, that's for sure, in this particular case. 21 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You know, the folks at Grace Point Healthcare deliver medicine affordably with the menu-style transparent pricing, so you'll know how much it will cost before the care is delivered. What a concept. Smart Care plans start at $69 a month. You get unlimited office visits and free basic labs for the entire year. And because they treat the entire family, even newborns, they offer family plans as well. Now, if you marry that with a high-deductible insurance plan, you could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. They treat naturally whenever possible. It is a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider year after year after year. Grace Point Healthcare is on Main Street in Franklin. Call this number, 599-6868. That's 599-6868 to schedule a visit.
Updates on detained American journalist Evan Gershkovich in Moscow. More LPRs on the way to Tennessee. 5:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And before we begin your special segment, I just want to mention I got a text from Doug Krulin over at BNA. The guy who runs the place out there. He says that shuttles to the satellite concourse run every 3 minutes.
Oh,
that's not
nice.
bad.
Yeah.
24 hours a day, and that to build a tunnel and do a little subway out there would have cost $400 million or more.
So they looked into it and they said,
yeah. This is well, if it runs every 4 minutes, or 3 minutes, I'm sorry, then it's not too bad. All right, now it's time for
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
All right, it's time for Mac Morey's wild world of sports. And now, without further ado, let's get right to the man, the myth, the legend. You know him, you love him, you can't live without him. Mac Morey, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, yeah. Hello. How are we all doing today?
We're doing okay. We're assuming you're going to wow us with important sports news because that's what we've come to expect from you, McElroy.
Okay, well, today, you guys actually informed me of something pretty cool yesterday regarding the Nashville Cats, the arena football team. You said they're coming back, and I was like, what? How did I miss this? Because I love arena football. I think it's super fun. I think it's different when I look at leagues like, I think now it's called the UFL because you had the XFL and AFL combined to create the United Football League. That'll be their inaugural season coming up here, I imagine, the next month or so. They're trying to chase the NFL, which is a losing game, in my opinion. They're 100 miles behind, and that's generous. The Arena Football League, they're not doing that. They're saying we're a different product. We're honestly almost a different sport. It's a different sized field. There's a bunch of different rules. We're kind of going for a different thing. We're going to be the way I look at it is like we're the WWE of football kind of thing. And that's actually could be successful to me on some sort of basis. So it intrigues me in that way. And then also I just, the Nashville Cats, there's going to be tryouts this Saturday, open tryouts. If you wanted to pay $75, Weber, or Brian, strap up those cleats. You're 6'4". They need some size. Let's go. Get a hand in the dirt.
Yeah, no, that ain't gonna happen.
I did get a press pass for that, so I am going to be there Saturday. I'm going to go to the tryouts, take some videos, report on some stuff, hopefully get to meet. This is another cool little tidbit on the Nashville Cats. Jeff Fisher, former Tennessee Titans head coach, he's the president of football operations for the Nashville Cats.
How about that?
One of the owners, I think.
Yeah. He's one of the owners, president of football operations, so he will be in attendance at the tryouts, hoping to catch him, maybe grab an interview from him and pick his brain about a couple of things. But this is intriguing to me because it's different and it actually has the chance for some sort of growth. Like going to a Nashville Sounds game. Sure, that's baseball. That's the same sport, but there's some sort of like intimate feel. It's a smaller crowd. It's cheaper tickets.
Yep.
It's just families, locals going to say, you know what, let's just go. We don't know a lot about what's happening tonight. We don't even necessarily care who wins, but we're going to end up by the ninth inning, or in this case, by the fourth quarter, we're going to be cheering hard for the Nashville Cats, the Nashville Sounds. We're going to be impassioned, and I kind of like that. That seems like natural, genuine sports sort of energy in that sort of atmosphere that I want.
But are they going to play the song? That's what I got to know.
Gosh, I hope so.
That's
right? That would be a big miss.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you got to at least give us a little bit of it.
You got to give me some love and spoonful. I mean, that's all there is to it. Yeah. All right.
So just looking at a couple of different rules here, I thought we could go through some of the rules. So first off, for all kicks that are not returned, the ball will be placed at the 10-yard line. If anyone is like, what 10-yard line? It's 50-yard field. I don't know, Brian. Yeah, I don't know, Brian. Have you ever been to an arena football game?
No, I really haven't. I don't think that I've experienced that.
It's a 50-yard long. I think it's 25 yards wide or something like that. There's no out of bounds per se. There's just a barrier, that's
it's kind of like hockey.
Yes,
with dasher boards, but they are padded.
Yes, they're padded, and so you've got guys getting just clotheslined over the barriers, out of bounds, things like that. So it makes for some really big, exciting hits, kind of like what the XFL was going for when they were chasing the NFL. Like, hey, we're going to be violent. The AFL's doing that, but they're not saying, hey, we're going to be violent. They just now made the arena in such that you don't really have a choice.
Yeah. It's going to be brutal.
It's going to be brutal. Another rule here that's interesting. The rogue, a.k.a. Uno, is 1 point that'll be awarded to the kicking team for tackling the returner in the end zone. A rogue can only be awarded on a kickoff. So because the field's so short, you can kick it off for, say, necessarily high enough. You have to return the kick. So unless it's kicked way out of bounds. But you could kick it high enough, and you could just blast all 10 of your guys in the end zone and try and get him before he gets out of the end zone. So there's definitely some different motivations. There's also, rather than going for 1 point after attempt, there's no really PATs. You could go for 1 point, go for 2 points, you go for 3, you go for 4, and that just depends on where you line up on the field. So if you lined up, I think it's the 15-yard line, that's 4-point try. If you lined up on the 10-yard line, that's 3 extra points. So yeah, scores will get wild. There will be lots of high-scoring games, and I just think this is another fun opportunity for families and friends to have an affordable night out and watch some sports.
I mean, it sounds way better than a game of pickleball, that's for sure.
A lot more exciting, I would say.
A lot more exciting, yes.
All right. Well, on that note, time to take off your snazzy sports hat, put on your news hat. It's time for the news on Super Talk 99.7.
5:31, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 67 degrees in Nashville. Traffic report, weather forecast, 5 minutes. The U.S. ambassador to Russia visited detained American journalist Evan Gershkovich in Moscow. Anastasia Katera has more.
U.S. ambassador to Russia Lynn Tracy visiting American reporter Evan Gershkovich at a pretrial detention center in Moscow on Wednesday. The ambassador later saying Gershkovich is in good health. A reporter for the Wall Street Journal, Gershkovich has been detained in Russia for close to a year. He was first arrested on espionage charges, which both he and the Journal deny. The U.S. has said he is being wrongfully detained.
There will be more license plate reader cameras. Channel 4 says at least 26 cities and local police agencies are applying for a license to install their own on interstate highways, including Clarksville, Brentwood, Smyrna police departments, and the Wilson County Sheriff's Department. 9 jurisdictions, including Clarksville, have been approved. They're just waiting for grant money to buy the equipment. And after the recent issue of that door plug that flew off an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX in flight, Boeing changing leadership now of the MAX program. Here's Alex Stone.
Boeing announcing it's reorganizing its 737 MAX program, which has had a rough few years after the deadly crashes of grounded MAX planes for months and the recent door plug flying off. The company announcing a new head of the MAX program and other leadership changes. The head of commercial airplanes at Boeing saying it's working to ensure every airplane meets or exceeds all safety requirements.
This is some breaking news. An active investigation underway. A person was found shot in the Nippers Corner area this afternoon, right around 4:15. This is in the 200 block of Knowles Place. That male victim was brought to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Critical head injury is what officials are reporting right now. The victim was found in a field behind those apartments. We'll keep you updated with more information as it comes available right here. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. That is the latest news. Weather, traffic next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
You know, yesterday I had the pleasure of sitting down with A.J. McCall over at D.T. McCall, one of the, when you say D.T. McCall and Sons, I guess he's one of the sons, but, you've seen him on TV. The guy goes, hey, and what a good guy he is. And it just reminded me, this is a company that has been operating in Middle Tennessee for more than 100 years. Wow. And you don't make it 100 years without having a reputation for treating people right, and I think that they really do. I think one of the ways that they show that is their policy on dealing honestly with people about how much something is really going to cost. I mean, for example, if you go in and you say, I want that appliance, they're going to give you a great price. It'll be an honest price. They won't charge you extra like the big box stores do for things like, delivery and setup and haul away of the old thing. That's not the way you do business with people. You tell them what it costs, and it's a good price and it's a fair price. When you do business with those other folks, it may sound like a good price, but it turns out at the end of the day not to be a very good price. You got to be careful about that kind of stuff. The other thing I love is that it's a Middle Tennessee company. I mean, why would you not want to do business with a Middle Tennessee company? Keep the dollars here. And they sort of return the favor because they try to, whenever possible, sell products that are made and manufactured right here in Middle Tennessee. They got a line of mattresses, for example, made right here in Middle Tennessee. They're great mattresses. I have one, and you're going to love it. So find out about the D.T. McCall store that is nearest you by going to their website, dtmccalls.com. We're bringing you all the news and information you can possibly squeeze into your brain here before you get home. We got all kinds of stuff to tell you about. I often spend a great deal of time talking about presidential politics and where things are. And if you heard my earlier segment at 4:05 about 2024 numbers, there are a whole host of these so-called battleground polls that are out that show that Donald Trump is doing pretty well in some of these battleground states. Now, I don't have all of them, but let me just give you the highlight from that before I move on to this other thing I want to talk about. In Georgia, in a five-way matchup, which is the way you got to look at it, just in Georgia, which when you talk about five-way matchup, that's Trump, Biden, and then the other, like Kennedy and the others. According to a poll done by, I think it's Emerson, yes, Emerson, Trump would win in the state of Georgia by 9 points. All right, North Carolina, Trump would win again in a five-way matchup by 9 points. That is well outside the margin of error. Pennsylvania, in a five-way matchup, Trump wins by 5 points, which is, a little less than the margin of error, but still looking pretty good. Michigan, there's a different poll. Epic has Trump winning in a two-way matchup in the state of Michigan by 4. If you extrapolate, what some of these other polls are showing when you do the five-way matchup, you could probably add 3 points to that at least. So it'd be probably somewhere in the neighborhood. It's a guess, but probably in the neighborhood of about Trump by 7 in a five-way matchup in Michigan. So, those numbers are all looking really, really good. Real Clear Politics average right now for Trump and Biden in a two-way matchup has Trump leading by 2. But when you do the five-way matchup, Trump leads by 5. That's nationwide. Again, that's a general population poll. I prefer to look at the battleground polls. I think we'll get some more of those in the next few days. And I'll save you a lot of trouble. I'm just doing a short version of this. If it were not to be Biden, but let's say it was Gavin Newsom, Trump would win, according to the Emerson poll, by 19 points. If it was, if that's in Georgia, 15 points in North Carolina, 9 points in Pennsylvania. If it was Harris, 10 points in Georgia if it was Harris. So, all of these battleground polls, the bottom line is look really, really, really strong for Donald Trump. Now, we talked about that earlier. I won't go over it again, but I want to tell you this. I see some other really, really remarkable things potentially happening for Republicans as they try to take back the Senate. I don't know what's going to happen in the House. I'll be honest with you. It's going to be real tight. But the Senate, ostensibly looking pretty good right now. Here's from thehill.com. GOP chances of winning the Senate are on the rise. Now, why would we say that? Senate Republicans have seen their chances of taking the Senate majority steadily rise this year as they have expanded the battlefield, limited internal fights, and recruited a set of strong candidates. The latest good news for Republicans regarding the Senate came from Maryland and Montana. So here we go. In a deep blue state, the GOP recruited former Governor Larry Hogan as a Senate candidate. Now, Larry Hogan, I covered Larry Hogan when he became the governor. Nobody could believe it, but he won. He became the governor of the state of Maryland as a Republican, even though it's a very deep blue state. Not only that, he got reelected. He was so popular, he got reelected. So he served 2 terms as governor. I think there's a term limit there, so he couldn't serve anymore. But he served for 8 years as governor of the state of Maryland. Now, you got to understand that in Maryland, Democrats outnumber Republicans at least 2-1. I think it may be 3-1. Democrats outnumber. There's a lot of them, but he somehow was able to. Now, and that's the good news. The bad news is he's just barely a Republican. I want to be honest with you, but here's how that works for us. Is he going to be there on tough votes? No, you're not going to ever call Larry Hogan a rock-ribbed conservative, but if it's a Republican seat, it helps you control the Senate. The second place where there was some good news was, as I said, Montana. Republicans convinced Representative Matt Rosendale to exit the GOP primary which provides a clearer path to the nomination for businessman Tim Sheehy. And he was the candidate preferred by Senator Steve Daines, also of Montana, who happens to chair the Senate Republican campaign team. In an important show of unity, both the Republican Senate campaign arm and Trump threw their weight behind Sheehy, joining forces in the effort to unseat the Democrat incumbent, Jon Tester. Tester in trouble in Montana. So there you go. Even before these developments, the GOP looked like the favorite to take back the Senate. Why? Democrats, are you ready, are defending 23 seats this cycle in the United States Senate, including red states such as Montana, West Virginia, Ohio, where Trump, the likely GOP presidential nominee, is expected to coast a victory over President Biden. Montana, West Virginia, one of the reddest states in the country. I think 70% of the voters in West Virginia voted for Trump. So with Manchin making the announcement that he's not going to run for re-election, and Manchin being a Democrat, that means that you could probably pick up Montana, West Virginia, and Ohio. Those are all pretty red states. This is a good map for Republicans, said Dave Peterson, a political science professor at Iowa State University. There's a long way to go and a lot of other primaries out there that could hurt them, but this is a good year for them. David McQuan, a political science professor at Sonoma State University, said it's the GOP's chamber to lose at this point. One reason is it's still their chamber to lose because they haven't been able to expand the map, and Democrats are unable to expand the map. They have been able to protect the map. So fundamentally at base, Democrats are in a protect mode and Republicans are in expansive mode. Republicans can remain on the offense. Republican strategists are growing more and more bullish about their odds. This is a really good map that Republicans know they have to take advantage of, not only because of the electoral atmospherics, but because they generally don't line up this way. It's really true. It just has fallen in this election cycle. Remember, in your Senate, there's a third of the Senate is up for re-election every 2 years. They serve 6-year terms, and so every 2 years, a third of the Senate is up for re-election. And out of the 33 seats that are up for re-election, 23 of them are Democrats are defending re-election efforts. So Democrats are heading in the race with a 51-49 majority, meaning Republicans could flip just one seat and earn the majority if their presidential candidate wins the White House. Now, there you go. With Manchin out and West Virginia Governor Jim Justice running for his seat, very popular. Republicans think they already have 50 seats. They can take out Tester, our Senate Sherrod Brown, Democrat from Ohio. They'll be at 51. Both seats are considered toss-ups by the nonpartisan Cook Political Report, along with Arizona, where a three-way contest may take place among Kari Lake, Ruben Gallego, and Senator Kyrsten Sinema, who will run as an independent. Lake, the Republican, Gallego, the Democrat, Kyrsten Sinema, the incumbent, will run as an independent. And so that one is going to be fun to watch. Another 4 Senate races in which Democrats are defending seats are in Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Now, those are all states that tend to lean Democrat, but Republicans, in contrast, are defending only 2 seats, one held by Senator Rick Scott of Florida, the other by Senator Ted Cruz. Last time I saw, Ted Cruz is up by 14 points in Texas. Cook rates the 2 races as likely Republican, a step more secure from the lean Democratic races where Democrats are playing defense. This from thehill.com, of course. While a likely race between Trump and Biden remains a coin toss, well, I mean, I don't know, depending on how you look at it. I think Trump has the edge right now. A number of polls have shown Trump with the edge, but they say this, not with an edge both nationally and in key swing states like Michigan. Trump may have coattails in places like Michigan, because I'm telling you right now, Democrats in Michigan are pretty hacked off at the Biden administration for a bunch of different reasons. So, again, you never know until, when they start to play the races, and who knows how the campaign's going to go. But you already have in the Senate a pretty clear path to 50. And then if the president were to become a Republican, Trump, then you would have control. That's all it would take for them to have control. If you get to 51, you don't need the president to have control. You know, see what I'm saying? Senate Republicans still have to run through the tape and add at least one more seat to guarantee themselves a majority, but there are a few possible bumps in the road for Republicans, and the Democrats have a much heavier lift. So that's going to be fun to watch. I mean, wouldn't that be something? Trump wins the presidency, and then the Senate. I mean, I don't want to say it's a done deal, but it's looking really good the way things are falling this election cycle for the Senate. It seems like if you can pick up, clearly they're going to pick up one seat, I think. Maybe they'll pick up 2 or 3. Maybe they'll pick up more than that. One way or the other, you control the Senate. And then the question is, what about the House? Because if the House it falls back to the Democrats, and remember, we have really narrow margins in the House of Representatives. In fact, it's so thin, the margin, that it's scary. I don't know. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the House, but I'm feeling pretty good about the White House. I'm feeling real good about the Senate. So, what you would ideally want to have is, of course, all 3. You can run the table. You can do whatever you want. And then if things don't get fixed, there'd be nobody to blame but us. We've had that before. We didn't take advantage of it. So, I'm hoping that we can do it. I don't want to get everybody's hopes up about the House because it's a real question mark. But the Senate, I'm feeling pretty good about. And again, the numbers that we're getting with regard to the presidential race are beginning to look fairly positive at this point for Trump. And everybody's, I hear you out there. I hear you. I hear you. Oh, Wilson, you're pumping sunshine. Oh, Wilson, don't get our hopes up. You know that the Democrats are going to cheat. Oh, Wilson, you know that it's going to be ugly and the mail-in ballots. Okay, I hear all that. But I still think it's looking pretty good. 51 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. Discover your retirement savings potential in less than 30 seconds with Beacon Capital Management's free retirement savings calculator. This very simple step-by-step calculator is easy to use, and you'll get your results right away. Take the next step in your financial planning journey and see how much money you could have saved for retirement by now, and get the answers that you need so you can plan for a retirement where you have enough money to live the life you want to live. Just ask Beacon now. AskBeaconNow.com to get started. Now, really, if you need more guidance than that, there's a way you do that. Just call the folks over at Beacon at 615-488-9303 and have a conversation with them. Have them look at what you've got going. Decide whether you're doing the right things or whether you need to make some mid-course corrections. Get started today by calling 615-488-9303. And at the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path. I want to give you the number one more time. Write it down, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. Learn more at AskBeaconNow.com.
What keeps you up at night politically?
Well, the thing that keeps me wide awake are the misinformation efforts that are underway throughout this campaign.
Oh, please, misinformation. The only misinformation is coming out of Jim Clyburn's mouth. What are you worried about? Illegal immigration, wide open border, fentanyl coming across that wide open border. We've got inflation rising yet again. We've got crime in the streets. We've got the failed pullout of Afghanistan, to name just a few. So yes, the only misinformation here is what is flying out of Jim Clyburn's mouth. Nice try.
6 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Currently 63 degrees in Nashville. Traffic complete weather forecast 5 minutes away. With no border deal, the president is now considering taking executive action to slow the stream of asylum seekers entering from Mexico. Here's Andy Field explaining.
President Biden considering preventing migrants from claiming asylum if they enter the U.S. illegally between ports of entry. One plan would give them other options, such as claiming a medical emergency or fear of torture if returned. It is a risky election year move that could anger progressive Democrats. President Biden saying he'd prefer the compromised bipartisan Senate border deal, but Donald Trump has pressured House Republicans to kill that bill.
Right now in Tennessee, some heavy allegations of racism have come out against Independence High School. Parents of Alana Reed claim that she was called a monkey and the N-word in school. The parents claimed to the Williamson County Board of Education that the boy who made those threats also threatened to shoot all the black people in the school. That student has been removed from her class, but they want him taken out of that school entirely. Reed says that she's now scared to go to school. The U.S. State Department responding to reports that Russia has given North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un a luxury car. Andy Field with details.
Vladimir Putin handed Kim Jong-un the keys to his country's version of a Bentley, a $300,000 Aura Sonat limo. The State Department's reaction?
I actually, frankly, didn't know there was such a thing as a Russian luxury car. I hope Kim got the extended warranty.
Spokesman Matthew Miller saying if that limo gift report is true, Russia has violated UN sanctions against North Korea. There's no word on where Kim Jong-un plans to drive his new sweet ride.
Right now in Tennessee, Franklin police asking for the public's help in identifying two people accused of using a stolen credit card to purchase $3,000 worth of gift cards at the Sam's Club on Mallory Lane. A credit card was stolen at a business yesterday on Southeast Parkway. Detectives said those suspects, a man and a woman, believed to be traveling in a blue late model Nissan Altima. Some entertainment news. Garth Brooks' bar, Friends and Low Places Bar and Honky Tonk, will be having its grand opening next month. Brooks has now invited three-time Super Bowl champion and Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce to sing that hit song at the opening. This comes after Kelce attempted to sing it at the recent victory parade.
I showed up in booze and ruined the Niners affair. The last one to know.
Brooks said, "Big man, I'm just telling you this. I'll be at the grand opening. If you're there, I'll send a plane if you want to come and get another shot at the title. If you want to come sing, then I'll send a plane." That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hey, good evening, everybody. 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair, on the air. We've got one more hour to go before we call it quits on this Wednesday, the 21st day of February. Boy, was it a nice day. Still a very pleasant 66 degrees here in bucolic Watertown. We hit, I think, about 72 today, which ain't bad for, more than halfway through February.
Yeah, not too shabby.
I'll take it. I sure will take it. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about in this last hour. Yesterday, Donald Trump, if you compare how things are going with Trump versus how things are going with Biden, you have to look at, the things that Trump is talking about and the things that the Biden campaign and the Biden administration are having to answer. Trump's talking about, who his running mate might be. And over at the White House, they're talking about how old the president is. I mean, really, when you just think about it, that's sort of the narrative right now. People are looking toward, Trump, and he's on his game. And then you look at Biden, and it's all about how old he is, and mistakes he made. Apparently another mistake, they say, in L.A. He was asked a question. He didn't seem to understand the question. And some other politician had to step up and answer it for him. I mean, as he was going to California, he stumbled on the way up the stairs twice. It wasn't as bad as some we've seen, but he stumbled 2 times. And this is the short stairs. This is like the, not the regular stairs to Air Force One. These are the little, short stairs that they pull out of the bottom of the plane so he didn't have to walk up as many stairs, at least in public view. He still has to walk up them. At least the cameras can't see him once he gets inside. That's the way that works. So anyway, Trump last night did a town hall with Laura Ingraham. I got to tell you, I liked 2 things about this thing. I liked the job that Laura Ingraham did in asking questions. It was a good conversation, and it was a good town hall. And I liked the way Trump was handling himself on the stage. I really do. I'll be honest with you. You've heard me say this before. It's not something I haven't said before. I've said it many times. I love Trump. I love his policies. I love everything about what he has done for this country. I do have problems sometimes with the way he handles himself on the public stage. I think sometimes he goes places he doesn't need to go. He needs to be, in the last campaign, I thought he needed to be a lot more disciplined about his messaging. But he seems to be doing that now. This is Trump, who in a conversation with Laura Ingraham about vice presidents, who his vice presidential running mate might be. It's a good conversation, and this is the Trump I want to see more of on the campaign trail.
When Biden ran, he pledged he was going to pick a female vice president in 2020. What qualities are you looking for in your vice presidential pick?
Well, always the first quality has to be somebody that you think will be a good president, because if something should happen, you have to have somebody that's going to be a great president. A lot of people are talking about that gentleman right over there.
Referring to Tim Scott, who was in the audience.
And he's been so great. He's been such a great advocate. I have to say, this is in a very positive way, Tim Scott. He has been much better for me than he was for himself. I watched his campaign, and he doesn't like talking about himself, but boy, does he talk about Trump. And I said, I called him. I said, Tim, you're better for me than you were for yourself. But he's fantastic, and he's a fantastic person.
Someone who can step into the role.
Most importantly, you have to view that.
The audience has been asked who they think would be a good choice, and various names came up. One of them was, of course, Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah. He's made a big splash. Ron DeSantis, who's making an appearance today in South Carolina, we just found out. Obviously, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, and a big presence here for Tulsi Gabbard. Very interesting. And Kristi Noem as well, I should say. Right. Are they all on your short list? And when can we expect that you will announce your choice?
The one thing that always surprises me is that the VP choice has absolutely no impact. It's whoever the president is. It just seems I remember when Sarah Palin was actually picked, and she did have a big up, and then they just went after her at a level that nobody's seen. The Republicans themselves went after what they did.
But you'll be a one-term president because you've already served, so you can only serve for one term, although they say you'll never leave office. I assume that you'll never leave. There'll never be another election
don't
again.
Do it. He'll never leave. He's never going. Oh, these people. They are
so for that reason, it is important who you pick.
So I think it's very important. But look, first is that, as we said, it has to do with whoever is, it's a very important position for that reason. You would like to get somebody that could help you from the voter standpoint. And honestly, all of those people are good. They're all good. They're all solid. And I always say, I want people with common sense because there's so many things happening in this country that don't make sense. Who wants an open border? Who wants high interest rates? Who wants all electric vehicles? And they're fine, but you want to have choice. You want to go to combustion. You want to go to any hybrid. I think the hybrid are much better from that standpoint. But we were talking about faucets. We're talking about we're talking about so much. It's all based on common sense. We want a strong military. We want choice in education. We want to have things that can really make our country great again. What we're doing with the open border is a disaster. We are destroying our country. We're going to change that fast, and we're going to get your energy prices down.
Mr. President, thank you so much for this.
Well, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, he's on message there. And so let's go through the list. Vivek Ramaswamy, he said, yeah. Ron DeSantis, yeah, he's in the list. Tim Scott, who he mentioned and talked about. Tulsi Gabbard. And then Kristi Noem. I don't, if it were me, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to like about each of these individuals. But I think the one that helps him best probably would be Kristi Noem. That's my feeling. I mean, I like, I got to tell you, there's nobody who's better able to express, the things that need to be expressed than Vivek. I mean, that guy, when I saw him in Iowa, I just couldn't believe how good he is on his feet. He's really quite good. The only thing I would say to him just as sort of from a communication standpoint, is slow down just a bit. I mean, he's got, he needs to just slow down because he speaks so fast you can't keep up with him. I mean, just slow down just a hair and you're just golden. DeSantis, I don't know that Trump and he are really all that tight. I mean, there've been apparently DeSantis is now on the campaign trail in South Carolina on his behalf, and he's been sort of at times he said, well, I do have some disagreements with Donald Trump, but I will support him, and so he's out there doing that. So maybe that relationship could be healed. Tim Scott, he's spoken of very highly in the past. Tulsi Gabbard is sort of the wild card there. I think she does have a lot of support. Republicans like her. But I think Kristi Noem is the one that I would, if it were me. And of course, it's not me, it's him. So it's choice to make. He was also asked about, this sort of was a question about, sometimes, some people say you're just a little out there, a little much. And she tried to ask the question delicately, but I thought this was a good moment for him, at the town hall last night.
A lot of women, a lot of women voters, they don't like the name calling, they don't like the score settling, they love your policies, and they just want Trump's policies, maybe not so much of the other stuff. So I think that's what the question, if you don't mind my asking, I think that's what she's getting at.
But also you want to say, how do you get together? We're going to get together through success. When the country was at a level that we had the best employment numbers in history, everything was good. And this country was coming together. Then we got hit with COVID, but this country came together. I don't care about the revenge thing. I know they usually use the word revenge. Will there be revenge? My revenge will be success.
That is a great line, and that just shuts it down right there. Yeah, I don't care about revenge. My revenge will be showing you how it's supposed to be done, and our success will speak for itself, and that. Shows some political maturity and some growth and some deeper thinking from Trump than perhaps we've seen in a while. So I liked everything about last night. Not criticizing, I'm just saying I'm just saying things I've said all along, being consistent. Sometimes he goes places he doesn't need to go, and he wasn't like that last night, and I really liked it. Compare and contrast that with what the other side is doing right now. All they're doing every time they get in front of a camera, if somebody who speaks on behalf of the administration, it's all about one thing and one thing only. Joe Biden is so old. Here is Kamala. She's doing an interview, and, it's almost as if you could tell she's reading a cue card or something. It sounds so stilted the way she said this.
What do you say to those concerns, specifically if he had to pass the powers to you for 1 second, 1 minute, heaven forbid, and I ask with all due respect, but, are you capable, are you ready to step into the role and do whatever the country would need?
Absolutely ready. But thank God our president is in good shape, in good health, and is ready to lead in our second term.
That seems a little stiff to me. Thank God our president is okay and ready to lead in a second term. Anyway. And then you have Karine Jean-Pierre. She's aboard Air Force One, so it's sort of hard to hear this. You hear the question better than you hear her answer. I apologize for that. This is, honestly, they're the worst over there about trying to get their message out. They don't really want the message to come out, I guess, because, the only time we ever hear Biden speaks when he's on his way to the helicopter. Or the only time we hear, many days, the only time we hear Karine is when she's got the background of the jet because she's on Air Force One going somewhere. And so the question was about age again. And is it fair game to raise these questions?
The publisher of the New York Times has talked about getting flack from the White House for its coverage of the president's age. Can you talk to us a little bit about what you think is sort of fair game when covering the nation's oldest president and what might be off limits?
So, look, a couple of things there that I would say on that particular item. Look, you all ask me pretty regularly about the president's age, and we lay out what our perspective is. We lay out what we've seen this president do in the last 3 years, which is deliver on historic piece of legislation that's going to change the lives of Americans for generations to come. Now, to your question more specifically about the New York Times coverage, is that display what we believe a journalistic objectivity about coverage of the president's age speaks to why we agree with former New York Times public editor Margaret Sullivan. And she says maybe the Times and other major media outlets ought to look in the mirror. Self-scrutiny and course correction are not among their core strengths. And I'll leave it there.
I honestly don't know what any of that meant. It was just a bunch of gobbledygook. She just talked in circles, which is what she is doing. They're on their heels, and they're being defensive because every time he gets in front of the camera, he'll either be asked or somebody around him will be asked about his age, and whether he's up to the task. As they say in the White House sometimes, there's blood in the water and the sharks are circling. And there's only one topic that comes up, it seems, most of the time. And so, the Biden people think that they're going to be able to go out there and do a State of the Union address, and it's going to completely turn things around. And I would say to you, I doubt many people will even watch the State of Union, which, by the way, is scheduled for March 7th. All right, so there you have that. Right now, 21 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk. Eurofix has a very different business philosophy. Did you know that? They staff all of their locations with more staff than the average auto repair shop, so they'll be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. Have you noticed how hard it can be to get a right now appointment for vehicle repair? Some dealers, you may have to wait 2 weeks just to get the appointment, but at Eurofix, well, they've been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer prices without dealer pricing since 1991, plus 1999, plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car now. If you're tired of waiting forever to get your car in the shop, then call Eurofix. Aaron Stokes says we will never be too busy to take care of our customers. We're here to take their pain away and do it now. Eurofix repairs all European cars. Eurofix says yes to speedy repairs when others can't or won't. Family owned for 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. supertalk.com. "25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk. Good evening. 21st day of February. Is that, I forgot to check. You know this probably. I mean, is this a leap year?
Yes. Yes,
it is a leap year. So, okay. So that means there's 29 days.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, 29 days. I always thought it'd be cool to have, to be born on a leap day, because then, you're not as old.
Hey, you don't have a birthday every, 4 years?
Every 4 years, that's right. But no, this is a leap year. That's right. And by the way, we got just a couple of more days, I think, before the South Carolina primary. Just a few days going there. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a stomping between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley. Donald Trump is, I think, about 22 or 26, 25, somewhere in there, points ahead of Nikki Haley, and she's just bound and determined she's going to just stick it out. And I think she's sincere. I don't think she's bluffing. A lot of times you say you're going to stick it out and then you don't. I don't get that impression this time around. I think she's going to stick it out. For the life of me, I don't understand why. You're going to be in South Carolina, your home state. You were once the governor of this state, and you're going to get your butt kicked and you're going to stay in? Why would you stick around for that? The other day, she held a press conference, and she played the media like a fiddle. I'll have to say that. Oh, it's a few days before the South Carolina primary, and all of a sudden she calls a morning press conference, and everybody rushes out thinking, oh, well, this is it. She's going to get out. She said, no, I'm here to stay. She's not going anywhere. But she's not going to win the Republican nomination. And so my question is, what is her ultimate game plan? Why would you keep doing this? Why would you keep campaigning, spending money, and just continually beating your head against a brick wall when it's not going to happen for you this time? I don't know. I don't know why they feel they have to stay in the race, but I guess they will. And then we're in the countdown to March 5th, which would be, and that's really the big one. March 5th, when we vote, and by the way, you can do early voting now. So if you want to get your vote in early, go ahead and vote now. I think through almost the end of the month, you can do that. But then March 5th is Super Tuesday, and as best I can tell, the way things are shaping up, on March 5th, Donald Trump will be in position to clinch the nomination. He could well clinch on the 5th of March, which is why we're having our big hoo-ha thing, out there at the Nashville Palace. You need to come out and join us on that night. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be taking our show on the road. We'll do our show out there, and then at some point around 6 o'clock, I'll be joined by the other guys. They probably come a little early. It's always sort of loosey-goosey, when they all show up, but they'll be there to help me with the broadcast and to join in the fun, and then we'll stick around for a while. But listen, it's fun to hang with people who sort of see the world the same way you do. There's a lot of fun in that, and we're ready. We'll hope you'll join us at the Nashville Palace. To get in, no charge whatsoever. That's right, no charge, free.
That's pretty cheap.
Now, if you want to buy food and drink, that's on you, because we didn't take you to Ray's, but I didn't take you to Ray's, but the get in the door, it's no charge whatsoever. You do need to RSVP, and if you RSVP, you get entered in a contest. You could win hot chicken and barbecue tailgate thing that feeds 25 people.
Yeah.
You could feed, you can feed us, because I don't know that we're going to have, if you want. My company's not going to pay for my food. I'll tell you that for sure. But no, it'll be a fun deal. I hope you all will come out and join. It's going to be a fun thing. It's always good to get the gang together. And what better time than on a night when potentially Donald Trump clinches the nomination. 30 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Busy bee when you need heat or cold AC. And I mean, right, today's a perfect example of why you need to have both sides of your HVAC system working. I mean, the cooling, I mean, it was 72 degrees today. And then you've got the cold at night. So if you're having problems with either side, just call this number, 615-775-7833. That's the number to Busy Bee, and they will buzz right over to your hive and get you going. And listen, the way you make this thing work for you is that you enroll and become a member of the Beehive Club. Starts at $99. You get 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems, one at the beginning of heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7, 10% off all repairs. I mean, that's a good deal. You get a lot of bang for your buck there. And most importantly, you're doing preventative maintenance, so your system continues to work and last longer over the years. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is your official Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call them at 775-7833. Learn more online at busybeehvac.com. "37 minutes now past the hour. We're into the final throes of our show for this Wednesday, February 21st. We're keeping the needle moving and bringing you news and information so that you can arrive home and have something to talk about. You can walk in and wow the fam with some factoid that you have learned here on this program. I don't know what it would be.
I know what it would be.
What, interdimensional beings?
Well, that's pretty good, too.
That was a pretty good story, yeah.
I was just going to say that I just learned that every presidential election year is also a leap year.
Huh. I haven't thought about that,
because
but
if
you're
it's a leap year this year, then that means...
As if we need it to drag out any longer than it is. I guess that's true. I haven't thought about that. And I've never put that together.
Yeah, me either.
Well, leap year, election year. How about that? Well, okay. How about that? Let's see. Why is it that never occurred to me before? Chris, you're sometimes your ability to see things that I don't see just amazes me.
Well, I didn't see it. It was
pointed out to you.
One of our texters.
Well, okay. Thank
Give them
you.
the thanks.
Thank you, texters. We love you. So here's some stories that I haven't really been able to squeeze into the show until now, but I think they're interesting. Senator Josh Hawley, I like him. I like the cut of that guy's jib is what I do. I mean, I think he's something. Republican of Missouri says that DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is telling the truth when he told him, he said, when he told them that President Biden's border policies are working. That's right. Alejandro Mayorkas will tell you, oh, no, everything's fine. The policies are working. And Hawley says, I don't think he's lying to us because this is exactly what they want to happen. It's working for them, just not working for the rest of the country. This is exactly what they want. They want the border open. That is their policy. So this is all because of Joe Biden, 100% on him, laying blame for the flood of illegal aliens squarely on President Joe Biden. The only change is not in the law, but in the way Joe Biden interprets the law. That's exactly right. It is an unmitigated, catastrophic disaster. And we're going to rue the day. There will come a time and a place when this will all come unraveled. And we're going to remember who put us in this position. The Biden administration, according to the Washington Examiner, has frequently been slashing the number of illegal immigrants who must post bond to enter the United States and a policy of releasing everyone, according to a former top Department of Homeland Security official. In revealing its policy under the Freedom of Information Act demand, the administration also showed it is setting the price of bonds lower than during the Trump administration and requiring a near-record low number of immigrants to pay them. The bottom line is that the administration is letting thousands of migrants into the U.S. without paying bail bonds to ensure they return for an immigration status hearing. And it's setting the bond prices so low that it's not worth it for bond companies to hunt down those who skip bail. Instead of detaining illegal aliens, the Biden administration is releasing everyone, says John Fear, a former U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Chief of Staff. I don't guess I knew that they had to post a bond, but apparently they aren't. Not much of one anyway. Yes, you want to be coming to America? Well, we'll set your bond at $5. Oh, no, that's too high. No, $5. You pay up or you can't come in. Gee, if they've already paid thousands and thousands of dollars to travel here and get the coyotes to bring them across the river, and now they're not being even asked to put up a bond. Golly, that's something else. For his report, Fear reviewed new ICE data retrieved by Syracuse University's Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse, which specializes in publicizing federal immigration data. What he found is, at the time when historic numbers of immigrants are crossing the U.S. southern and northern borders, the number of bonds hearings issued is at near a record low. What's more, the Biden team is setting bonds at about half. $4,000 is what the Trump administration charged. He said that a bond set at $10,000 or more usually results in immigrants returning for their court hearings to determine if they are granted asylum or some entry into the U.S. or deported. Cutting the bonds to half of that encourages people to skip out on them. Who knew? The United States is about to invest billions. This is a weird story. Billions to replace Chinese-made cranes at nation's ports. The Biden administration plans to invest billions, according to the Wall Street Journal, in the domestic manufacturing of cargo cranes, seeking to counter fears that the prevalent use of Chinese-built cranes with advanced software at many U.S. ports poses a national security risk. Well, think about it. You want to shut down? You want to shut down all the ports in America and all of the remember how difficult it was during COVID when we couldn't get stuff through the ports? Everything got stacked up out in the ocean and they couldn't get them through the ports. Remember how bad that was? You couldn't get anything. You go to the stores, you couldn't find what you're looking for because it's sitting on a ship out in the ocean. Took a long time to work through that. Well, imagine if the Chinese pushed a backdoor button and all of a sudden every crane in every one of our ports from the West Coast to the East Coast and to down in Texas, they'd just stop working. I mean, my goodness. How did we let this happen? The move is part of a set of actions being taken by the administration on Wednesday intended to improve maritime cybersecurity. They include a U.S. Coast Guard directive to mandate certain digital security requirements for deployed foreign-built cranes at strategic seaports, as well as an executive order by President Biden setting baseline cybersecurity standards for computer networks that operate at U.S. ports. How about that? Never thought about that. That the Chinese cranes, Chinese software, the Chinese are great about putting back doors into their software so they can get into them. That's what they do with TikTok. And there you go. That's scary. How much are we going to have to spend to fix that problem? The Biden administration is set to green light a rule change that could well spike the cost of your gasoline. Now you say, well, hold on a minute. Why would they do that? Well, it's a Green New Deal kind of thing, right? But they're not going to do it until, as you might imagine, right after the election. They're not stupid. They'll do it, November 15th or something like that. The Biden administration expected to ease, according to the Daily Caller, seasonal restrictions on ethanol gasoline blends, but has delayed the change until after the 2024 election to avoid a price spike. This is according to Reuters. The rule change stems from a 2022 request from the governors of Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, Ohio, South Dakota, and Wisconsin to allow the sale of gasoline with 15% ethanol year-round, known as E15 gasoline, lifting current seasonal restrictions that aim to reduce smog in the summer months. Well, wait a minute. If you don't use the ethanol during the hot months as much, the 15% ethanol, it's because you want to reduce smog, but now we decided that's okay. We can have a little smog because, well, these important states that grow corn for ethanol want to be able to sell more ethanol. That doesn't sound right. I mean, I thought the EPA was supposed to keep us protected from smog, not allow something that's going to give us more smog. Ethanol. Don't get me started on ethanol. You know what? If I could afford it, I would buy every tank of my gas would be non-ethanol gas. Because, I mean, first of all, my car runs better on it. And number two, I think it's the stupidest thing that we do in America. Ethanol gas is just dumb. And the only reason we have it is because of the thing called the Iowa caucuses. The farmers in Iowa decided that they were going to grow corn and that they could find this whole new market for ethanol. And everybody said, well, that's great. We want to put some ethanol instead of having to use oil. But the problem is that your cars don't run as good on it. And it's not very efficient to grow corn and to make alcohol to blend with the gasoline. Much more efficient to just go ahead and do it on a regular basis. And it causes all these headaches, and that's what they're trying to get rid of, is because you have to switch out. Some months you can have more ethanol than you can in other months, and it takes a while for those the gasoline refineries to change over, to blend, to produce these different kinds of gasoline. I read somewhere that I think there's like 10 or 12 different versions of gasoline that has to be blended, and so it can be sold in certain states. And we're just wasting land. We're using up water and valuable natural resources that could be used to grow food in order to, enrich the corn farmers of Iowa. Now, I like farmers in general, but, you've got this wonderful dark soil in Iowa that can grow anything. We shouldn't be growing our fuel. We ought to be growing food so we can feed the country and drive down our food prices. That's what we ought to be doing. Letitia James is threatening to seize President Trump's buildings if he can't pay that $354 million fine. Now, I heard the president say that he's got cash, and seemed to suggest, he said, we have a lot of cash on hand. Didn't say exactly how much. Then he suggested that maybe the judge looked at how much money cash they had on hand and decided to make the fine exactly that amount. But one way or the other, Letitia James is now saying if he can't pony up the money, then we'll just seize one of his buildings. Alina Habba said that's a horrible thing. Here's Alina Habba, one of Trump's attorneys.
Her goal was to try and hurt the president, try and hurt his family, his company. And quite honestly, all I can say to that without breaking my privilege and giving her a glimpse, which I would never give her the courtesy of having, into our strategy, is that she has no chance. The appellate record is strong. The record is going to be very clear to the American public, and I look forward to having everyone see what we say and really get a glimpse of what happened in that 11 weeks in court. We have a great team. I'm proud of our team, and we're working around the clock to figure out what strategically is the best move. One thing I can tell you is that her goal of tearing down the Trump Organization, her goal of tearing down the individuals that work so hard, including on his campaign, his family, and the list goes on and on, her goal is frankly not going to succeed. That's all I'm willing to say. Look, this is a woman who ran on getting Trump before she even knew anything about the Trump Organization. She made good on a campaign promise, and she used Judge Engoron to help her facilitate that promise. If she thinks she is going to take him down, if that was her goal, which we all know very well it was, and she got a strong assist there in court, but I will tell you this, that goal will not be successful, and that is the message I can give to everyone listening here. It will not be successful. We've seen it happen time and time again. Look at what's happening in Georgia. Look at what's happening with Miss James going to Washington right before she files the complaint. We have proof of that now.
Well, I mean, again, she's right. Trump seems to, I think he's going to win on appeal, but the question is, can he survive until the appeal? 51 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. The chairman of the Federal Reserve has said that we're on an unsustainable fiscal path. We aren't going to pay off the $34 trillion debt anytime soon. They'll just print more money to pay the interest on the debt and thus debase the U.S. dollar. Time to think about saving with gold and other precious metals. You know, maybe you've thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but you feel like you don't have the knowledge you need to make a smart decision. I'm going to tell you, I felt that way. But I got the professional guidance I needed at Nashville Golden Coin. And this is the way it works. You make an appointment. You sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Golden Coin. They will answer all your questions and help you make the precious metals investment that is right for you. It's friendly. You're going to learn a lot. You'll never be subjected to high-pressure sales pitches. It can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times. So to set up that one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldenCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldenCoin.com.